Broadcasting live from the basement of the Pentagon. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome one and all. Today is April 11th, 2023. This is episode 129 of Pop Culture Warrior. It's the show where I stay up to date on all the ins and outs of what's happening in pop culture so you don't have to. I am CQ, I'm the Pop Culture Warrior, and joining me tonight, surprise, surprise, he's the man in the bubble for tonight. He's the kidult himself, Mr. Angry Elf. What is up, brother?
Hello there.
Hello there. So real quick, because we have a lot to talk about. First thing is, I have to apologize. I've never, ever lied to my audience. Never. But I fibbed a bit in that intro. I fibbed just a wee bit. Today is not, in fact, April 11th. Well, for you watching, it is April 11th. For myself, for Angry Elf, it is in actuality, it is April 10th, the day prior. This is a pre-recorded Pop Culture Warrior for very good reason. Before we get into the show, I will say the real CQ in your timeline, not in our timeline, in your timeline, the real CQ is, as of this moment, 8 p.m. Eastern, is sitting in a theater watching the preview screening of the new Nicolas Cage movie Renfield, with Nicholas Hoult as the titular Renfield. Basically, the movie comes out this Friday, but CQ got advanced screening tickets, to check out the movie. So myself and Nemo, our social media mastermind, is at the preview screening currently. So Angry Elf was so gracious. I mean, there was so much happening this weekend. We can't just not have an episode. So we put the brains together. We're pre-recording this segment. We also later in the show, we have a pre-recorded interview. Well, I mean, it just works out that way with Mayans MC badass himself, Vincent Rocco Vargas. So that is an outstanding interview. Well worth a watch. Well worth a wait to see. So that'll be coming up in just a little bit tonight. So rewind that all back. First things first. If you can notice,
he's got the new shirt. He's got the new shirt.
New shirt came in. This is so awesome. And I had to point out, I've got to go back into what episode it was because I don't recall. This was an idea from one of the fans. This design was an idea of one of the fans of Pop Culture Warrior. Someone in the comments had put, why don't you have a shirt like the soldier in the picture? So the PCW picture has the guy ripping open his blouse and revealing this shirt underneath. And I went, oh my God, I've never thought to make it an actual shirt that you can do. I don't know if the logo's a little too big. I might have went a little too big on it, but still, I think it works.
It's perfect.
But so this is available, pcwgear.com. And I challenge you guys, and this is an open invitation, if you have a great idea of what a shirt for Pop Culture Warrior could be like, as modeled by Angry Elf in his, or as modeled by mine, or one of our many other designs that I have available. If you have an idea for a shirt, let me know. Tell me the idea. Tell me the design. I will not only make it, if I like your idea, if I love your idea, I will not only make it a reality, I'll gift you one. I'll order you the very first one off the line will be for you if it's your idea. So this was such a great, simple, very, very good idea by one of our very own fans. So thank you. I got to look back at the episodes to see who said it. But
that fan's got to reach out. shout out or something,
Absolutely.
Get on the socials and say, hey, that was me.
I owe you at the very least, I owe you a shirt, if not more. And speaking of giving things away.
Oh, here we go. Yes.
Not tonight. Obviously, we're not live. Not next week, because we got a really big show next week. The following week, 2 weeks from when you're watching this, we're going to do some giveaways. I have so much stuff, books, pictures, artwork. I've got literal boxes of stuff that I need to give away. So we're going to do a big giveaway week, celebrate some, I don't know. We'll figure out something to celebrate. We'll find a reason.
Spring cleaning.
Spring. Yes, I like it. A little spring cleaning.
CQ's yard sale.
Oh my God. Dude, what if I... I just had a little incident. I could do like a auction style. Like I bring up items and go like, how much would you bid on this item? And see if we could raise some funds for PCW and the station and yeah, could auction off. I have some big ticket items.
Some of those big ticket items you should like put up on the station's socials and let it run for a couple of days, maybe a week or whatever, so that you can generate. Because if you do it here, yeah, something cool like hey, this signed, blah blah blah. Maybe you can get a couple of bucks, but if you put something like, don't you have an?
Shh, that's a secret. That's a secret. I might. Yeah, I might. Anyway, let's get, dude, there's so much we got to talk about.
Yeah,
so let's dive into it, because I really want to get into it. So first off, before we get into Star Wars, because it was Star Wars Celebration this past weekend.
Yep.
So much coming out of that, which I still don't understand why they do it in April instead of May for May the 4th, but whatever. We'll whatever. Reasons.
It's when they could get the hotel.
Yeah, there's the reasons. Before we get into that, obviously the biggest news coming out of this, well, not the biggest news, because Star Wars Celebration was big news. One of the other big news coming out of this weekend was the world premiere of the Super Mario Brothers movie, which I know you said you haven't seen yet, but you plan on seeing. I'm taking the wife and the kid. I saw it. But before I give you my reaction to it, I'm going to read a little something that says the Super Mario Brothers movie may be getting mixed reaction from critics. With a 56% score on Rotten Tomatoes, it's actually being loved by the audience members, which I think is the true, test of the movie. But that is not stopping the film from absolutely crushing it at the box office. The movie has already broke a massive record by earning the biggest opening weekend for an animated film globally, which is saying a lot, right? We're not talking like, biggest movie based on a game franchise, right? Like, we're talking biggest animation of all time. So when you're thinking of Disney classics, you're thinking of Toy Story, Frozen, like all these mega blockbuster animated films, it surpassed all of them. So according to Deadline, which is reporting that the Super Mario Brothers movie earned $377.5 million worldwide this weekend, with an estimated 172.8 of that coming from the international box office. Nice. So that's obviously, the biggest opening for Illumination, which is the team behind the Minions and Despicable Me franchise, Shrek franchise. So across their, it is amazing. Across their 13 movies as a studio, they've raked in $5 billion at the international box office and another $8.45 billion worldwide. The studio's previous successes included the Minions movie, Despicable Me 3. This milestone for the Super Mario Brothers movie continues as it becomes the largest video game opening of all time, right? So now, again, we're talking not just movie, but the biggest video game movie, beating out World of Warcraft, or the Warcraft movie, which was actually I was surprised by this, that World of Warcraft, the movie, was the biggest opening of a video game franchise turned movie ever. I would have said probably like the Sonic movies, I thought did pretty well as far as opening box office. But
what about the Mortal Kombat's?
The live actions that were like, I loved the. Don't get me wrong, I love them, but they weren't biggest box office by a large.
Come on.
By a large margin. But no, Warcraft raked in $210 million its opening weekend. It's also number 4 as the biggest universal day and date global opening all time, behind Fast and the Furious, which made 543, Jurassic World, which made 525, Furious 7, which made 398. Overseas, the Super Mario Brothers movie also had the biggest opening weekend of the year so far, beating out Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania at 117.1 million. So it's breaking records left and right. So is that surprising, I guess, is the question. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, think about it. This is a franchise that dates back to the mid 80s.
Beloved franchise.
Beloved. How many sequels, how many games is, across all the Nintendo platforms? And actually, didn't it start back with the Atari with Mario Brothers? It came to Nintendo as
Go further back, because technically the first appearance of Mario was in Donkey Kong.
It's in Donkey Kong, the
arcade cabinet.
So, but hey, it's. I'm excited, and it doesn't surprise me. And
I will say, no spoiler review. I will never spoil a movie without a warning. No spoiler review is that it is okay. It is fine, and you have to like it's hard for me, right? Because I grew up on Mario. I'm a fan. I've played the majority of the games. So I feel this movie is for me, but it's not for me. It's really not. It is a kid's movie. And you have, as an adult, I'm warning you guys, go into it. If you're taking the kids, or if you're just going by yourself, like I did, and surrounded by kids, remind yourself, it is a kid's movie. This is meant for kids' enjoyment. Now, there are a metric shit ton of Easter eggs and like sounds you'll recognize, when somebody appears on screen and you're like, that's the sound, and the music design and it, you'll hear the classic notes, although with like a modern riff to them. Lots of homages, for one quick scene, they go kind of like 2D platformer, and another scene, it's kind of like top over looking down style. And, obviously in the trailers, you see it, there's like the Mario Kart sequence and, the almost kind of Super Smash Brothers style where they're kind of like fighting it out. Like, so there's all these homages and tip of the hats and, characters in the background that you'll recognize and not necessarily called out. Lots of little Easter eggs.
Speaking of Easter eggs, all I want to know, is there an Easter egg to Captain Lou's iteration of Mario? Remember the old live action? Captain Lou, is there an Easter egg for Captain Lou?
If there is, I didn't pick it up. Although there's one character that bears a striking semblance. It could be coincidental. It could be intentional. There's one character that kind of... Again, I don't want to spoil it, but there's one character that kind of looks like him with kind of an homage to like the video game voice, if that makes sense. We'll leave it at that. But there's so much packed into that movie. It is a rather short movie to today's standards. It's barely 90 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a fat. Again, I think it's aimed at kids, right? Kids' attention span. So they try to get through the story very quick. It's like, he's Mario, and here's it, and this is the thing, and this is who needs help, and here he goes, and now he's gonna fight, and now he's gonna train, and then big fight, boss fight, boom, roll credits, and it's like, we're like, whoa, we got through that real quick. But it's nice. It doesn't feel like a bad movie, right? You don't go in and go, oh, this was a waste of time. Like, it's a good movie. The visuals are incredible. The sound design is great. Like I said, lots of homages. It's a very simple plot. Everybody, I think, does a very good job voice acting. I think Jack Black as Bowser really seems to be having a lot of fun with the Bowser voice and Bowser as a character.
Yeah.
I was surprised a little bit in some of the decisions in regards to Bowser. You know, he's an intimidating, scary villain, and they took some creative, regard to Bowser. But again, some people are going to dig it, some people might be against it. There is plenty of ways to go sequels. You can feel that this movie's meant for sequels. I think even sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, did you hear the kind of rumorish, maybe spoiler that Chris Pratt put out that this might be leading into an NCU, a Nintendo Cinematic
That would
Universe?
be great, man. I saw someone post okay, so they need to make Star Fox, Metroid.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Star Fox, Metroid,
Legend of Zelda. Then roll in Sonic and the Sonic that's already exist and the Pikachu movies that already exist. And boom, you got yourself an Avengers level Super Smash Bros. Super Smash Brothers movie. That's what I'm thinking. I've heard rumors that Legend of Zelda movie may already be further along,
but see, that's something that's always been worked on, right? Metroid and Zelda, there's always been rumblings, there's always been it's right on the cusp of becoming a thing, and then it kind of falls off. And so I think this will spur that on a bit. Kirby, I think believe it or not, I think Kirby could make an excellent kids film. For kids film. I think it's rife. It's primed for kids film. Star Fox could be cool. Obviously, Zelda could be cool. Metroid, like a really cool Metroid game. It's possible. It's doable. But people have to hold that enthusiasm, only because if it does happen, it's going to be for kids. We're not the way that Avengers was for us.
Yeah.
It will be for kids, but we can't expect Avengers level fun and intrigue and excitement because it's not aimed at us, right? Avengers was aimed at us, it wasn't, it was a kids, superheroes, but it really was meant for an adult audience that had grown into it. But no, overall, if you're going to take your kids, definitely worth it. If your kids have an attention span longer than mine does, if your kids have an attention span longer than 15 minutes, they'll enjoy it. Mine would definitely not, because he can't sit through a YouTube ad without freaking out. So let alone an entire movie. So it's definitely worth it.
Get him some of the Mario toys. Have you seen some of those?
Yeah, some of them are cool. Some of them are cool. I've believe it or not, I tried, man. When Mario, they released a track thing, and I thought, that'd be cool, like a little racer thing that he had, and wasn't into it. They did the Lego stuff, wasn't really into it. Just it's not his thing. He's into the Roblox, he's into trains and stuff like that. Yeah. Mario's never really been. He can identify it. He knows it.
The movie toys. The cool part is the coolest feature I saw with the movie toys is the Bowser. Mm-hmm. It actually has an element in there.
It breathes.
Yeah. And his mouth, because his mouth is somewhat gaped open, it's got a little red light, like he's about to spit a fireball or whatever he does.
I saw that. I dig it, man. Kids nowadays are spoiled. Here's the thing. They are spoiled for all the cool shit that they have. And to be fair, they'd rather be on their tablet playing, which makes sense, that you'd rather be in a world that you can control and create and sky's the limit versus playing with this hard plastic thing that you're like, rah, 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 rah. And then you're like, all right, well, that got boring. But obviously compared to what we were playing with, basically like blocks, pixelated blocks. And we're like, it's so lifelike. It's like 3 pivot joints in the whole thing. Oh man. Yeah. It is what it is. But overall, it's worth it. If you have kids and they're of the right age, I'd say 7 to 11 in that realm, I think could really, really enjoy the movie. And I definitely think there will be sequels. My favorite comment was Jack Black saying, it would be great if they made a sequel. And his pitch was there'd be a sequel And this time Bowser has to team up with Mario because there's a bigger threat. And he says he wants the bigger threat to be Wario, played by Pedro Pascal, which I was like, I could totally see a Pedro Pascal Wario. I could just see Mario. I'm ready. Like, let's do it, Mario. Like, really get that sex voice going for get that Mandalorian voice going for Wario.
And who was the Luigi counter?
Charles Day. Right?
No. Who was Wario's brother?
Waluigi. Waluigi.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Which is so original because they made Wario because by adding a WA, so they're like, we got to add WA to Luigi, Waluigi, which is the dumbest thing. It just doesn't work. But twins got to match. There was another. I saw another pitch where a sequel could basically be Luigi's Mansion, the haunted Luigi's Mansion, and kind of go into that and let Luigi, because obviously the star of this movie was Mario. Luigi's there, but Mario's really the star of it. So you could do a follow-up and kind of push Luigi into the forefront and make Mario kind of the side character. And a bunch of really creative ideas, and obviously Yoshi story or whatever. There's a lot of
40 almost. Yeah, they got almost 40 years worth of content that they could pull from, and if the creators behind this, Nintendo Studios or whatever they're calling themselves, are smart. They're just go look at what they got and then spin it.
And then there's always the option of you can go into the Spider-Verse, style where like all of a sudden you get Marios from different timelines and different universes coming together. You get like Paper Mario and Dr. Mario and fucking Mario Tennis Guy, and they all start competing or whatever it is. It could be something fun like that. But yeah, so hopefully that gives you an idea if you should or would or why you would go see Mario. But if you do, let us know what you think. Tag us. Let us know what you think. I'm curious. Moving on to why we're all really gathered here today. What we're all really gathered here to talk about. And that is Star Wars.
Yes. This weekend.
Lots of information. God. What just a massive dump they took on our chest, and we loved it. They just dumped it all out.
The visuals.
And we loved it for them. So Star Wars Celebration 2023 was held this past weekend in London, in bloody old London, England.
Yes.
Cheerio, England. So lots came out of it. The first thing I'd like to touch on is what they're calling the new official Star Wars timeline. So let's take a quick peek at what they unveiled. Here it is, the new official canon Disney Star Wars canon Star Wars timeline. So, if you will, we've lived a life that we the errors that we are aware of, that we have experienced, starting with really it was kind of Age of the Rebellion right there towards the middle right. That's our OG trilogy, right? That's Age of the Rebellion. That's our Star Wars, technically 4, 5, and 6, but the original trilogy. Before that, you actually have to go all the way back to Fall of the Jedi. That's the prequels. That's our Star Wars 1, 2, and 3. Kind of what falls in between is like the Bad Batch. Kind of falls in the Reign of Empire, Rebels, that kind of. When you go into Age of Rebellion, that's kind of when you get, like I said, the OG trilogy. But that's when you also get Andor, Rogue One. They kind of fall into that Rebellion timeline. The New Republic, which is kind of a newer concept because, the OG trilogy really ends at the Age of Rebellion. And then we didn't really, from a movie perspective, we didn't pick it up again until Rise of the First Order, which is the latest trilogy, the newest trilogy. So that New Republic in between, that's your Mandalorian storyline. That's your Book of Fett storyline. The new Ahsoka series, we'll talk about that. That's coming. That all stems from that New Republic. So realistically, we've seen from the Fall of Jedi to kind of the end of the first, was it Rise of the First Order? That's what we've seen cinematically so far. So that means they've added 4 new timelines. The first of which, let's touch on, just because it's the easiest, is the very end. This is our first glimpse at what happens in the future. It's the first glimpse of what happens after what we know of as of today. So the last thing we know in Star Wars timeline is, Rey, newly deemed Rey Skywalker, buries her little lightsabers, claims she's a Rey Skywalker, and looks off into the distance, and boom, end credits. This will now pick up after that. This is for they call it the New Jedi Order. And the biggest announcement coming out of that is Daisy Ridley coming back to tell a story that takes place 15 years later, where she's basically attempting to build a new Jedi Order, a new Jedi school, and progress the Jedi Order. You are a much more in-depth, in-knowledge Star Wars guy than I am. So the first thing I want to ask is, weren't we told
that this was the end?
That it was the end, that the Skywalker saga was closed. We're done with that chapter. If we were going to get more, it would be a whole new story and all this and that. So what do you take now hearing this information?
So, let's see what happens. But the rumors I've heard, rumor, grain of salt, yada, 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 is this is Disney's attempt to restart and they don't want to go off and create new characters. They want to take characters that are known to the fans. So Rey's one of them. Rumor is joining her will be a new character being developed for this. R2-D2, because the spreadsheets say that R2-D2 sells. Our faithful Wookiee, Chewbacca, he'll be back. And if he's back, that means the Millennium Falcon's back. And then a certain small child is going to be joining Rey. Grogu is rumored to be joining Rey in this movie. And
Grogu as we see him in Mando, or like a more grown version?
This is 15 years since
Mandalorian takes place before the trilogy.
So we're talking probably somewhere around,
it's been 30 years.
20 or 30 years from what we see him in Mando right now. Mm-hmm. And so who knows? Not to spoil anything, but he is, in these recent episodes of The Mandalorian, been demonstrating he has a larger grasp on the Force than he has in previous seasons.
Sure. So
who knows? All right, so we jump forward 30 whatever years. Maybe he's got a lightsaber. Maybe he can talk. Maybe he can do things. Mm-hmm. So, but that's the rumor. And Rey is trying to reestablish. We'll see. Here's my only thing. How many movies has Disney announced since 2019 when Rise of Skywalker dropped? We've had, I don't know, we'll say a half a dozen just for,
Yeah, three were just announced this weekend.
Yeah, and the last one that was pretty much put to bed was the Rogue One. No, not Rogue One. Excuse me, Rogue Squadron. Thank you. The Rogue Squadron one by the director of the Wonder Woman trilogy. Mm-hmm. But anyways, that's not happening. That's been put to bed. So we'll see if this happens and how soon it'll happen. It's going to take them 3 years to change. 3 years to get a movie out if they start pre-production here in the near future. We'll see.
Yeah, and supposedly a lot of all the things. Okay, what they've said, and again, like you said, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. What they said coming out of this conference is everything we're talking about is not speculation. They're it's either ready to go or very far along the process, meaning nearing ready to go. So I think they have that same thought in mind that you have, like, well, we've announced a lot of things that don't come to fruition. So their version of, assuring the audience, like, hey, this is really happening, is that the leader, the Kevin Feige of the Star Wars universe, I think it was Kathy something or other. What?
We'll just refer to her as KK. Leave it at that.
She said that everything that's been announced, if not given a direct date, is very far along the process and is basically saying it's assured to come out. So like you said, we'll see. But it'd be curious. It'd be curious for them. I don't know. Part of me wants like an end game situation, like an Avengers Endgame, where you bring back Rey and like do another trilogy, right? Do another trilogy, but with the final being the culmination of everything. Meaning not just the culmination of the movies, but bring in Mando, bring in Ahsoka, bring in Grogu, bring in anyone who has survived up to this point through the series, through the all the subplots. Bring in Bo-Katan, bring in whoever's alive. Obviously Andor's, maybe somebody from Andor survives from the series. Somebody from that series survives. Bring them in. Yeah. So that there's think about what Endgame was. It was a representation of every series and show and movie that had existed up to that point, minus the Defenders and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But other than that, it was a culmination of everything else that had been created. Make that be the end all be all. I don't know what threat that they could take on, but
there's those in the chat. They're going to butcher me because I'm going to murder this name. But the Yuzon Fred from the novels. So there was long and short is that in the novels there was an alien race that came from outside of the Star Wars known galaxy, and basically, I haven't read it all. I just know the gist, but it caused the Empire or the remnants of the Empire and the Republic, the New Republic, to join forces to fight these guys because they were that Thanos level baddie, and they showed up, and that was that, and that you could have that you could because some of these creators, especially Dave Filoni, has not shied away from introducing things that were deemed legends when Disney purchased Star Wars. They were
once canon, then they weren't canon, and now slowly making their way back into canon. I love the idea of, ending Star Wars, very end of the timeline by saying, what if there were a threat bigger than the Sith, and the Sith had to work with the Jedi to, like you said, defeat this outside threat, and then realizing like, hey, maybe we could live harmoniously. Like, the Sith would have to give up kind of the murderous rage kind of stuff, but then Jedi would have to give up some of the like peaceful, like, political stuff. And then they could find this harmony, moving forward, and having like Ahsoka and Rey kind of be the leaders, and Grogu, obviously, and having them be these new leaders that are more balanced. Because look at, what does Ahsoka stand for, right? She stands for that kind of middle ground. And what does Rey stand for? We see it being part Palpatine, stands for that middle ground. And what have we seen Grogu, who was originally, in the Jedi Temple, but now raised by Mandalorians? Like, these are all representations of that kind of middle ground.
I've seen others talk about it, but they're saying that, like, maybe Grogu is destined to become that next, what do they call it? Mandalore. The Jedi Mandalorian, kind of like the first holder of the Darksaber. Right. Mandalore the Great. And if I'm getting it wrong, just murder me in the comments. But anyways, but it's funny you mentioned that, like, some big bad that brings everybody together. And that goes into the second movie that was announced, Dave Filoni's movie that he will be directing. That's supposed to be the culminating event for the Mandoverse, which will get the this August, right? August. We'll get the next iteration of that with Ahsoka, and some of the stuff in the Ahsoka trailer. Grand Admiral Thrawn, He's coming back.
Yeah, I have. So I'm gonna pull this back up again.
Yep.
And then, so yeah, touching base on that. The other big one I want to talk about, Ahsoka, finally got its release date, which is gonna be August of this year. They've been very, very shy about announcing it. Still don't even have a day, but they said August 2023. That's when we're promised it's coming. We saw the trailer. We saw Thrawn, or sort of saw Thrawn. Or some other blue guy in Thrawn-looking gear. But it was announced. Yeah, obviously. But it was announced that Lars, what's his name? Mikkelsen? Lars Mikkelsen will be reprising. I think he was it Rebels, right? He was Thrawn in Rebels. Voiced him. And he did the voice. So now which I think is a really cool thing. When you look at, was it like Katie Sackhoff coming in as Bo-Katan, and now Lars Mikkelsen coming in as Thrawn. What a cool thing to pay tribute to something that could easily be tossed to the side and go like, you voiced a cartoon character, but to be able to bring that character to life and in live action, I think that's such a cool opportunity. It's not going to happen all the time, but still very cool. Cause I think two other people were announced, Hera playing by somebody else. And then obviously heavy implication of the other guy. What's his name? That's going to be in there as well. Anyway, regardless.
Anyways, but it looks it. Now, my thought is, here's my thought with the Dave Filoni movie. I don't think that's going to end up in the theater. I got my gut reaction to that is that's not going to be in theaters. That's going to be your Defenders miniseries,
straight to Disney Plus kind of movie.
Yeah, it's not going to be. No, I think it's gonna end up being not scaled down, but I think of it being broadened out, and it's going to be 8 episodes.
So you think they'll turn it into a series?
I got that feeling. I really do have that feeling. Because a lot of times when you pull something from television or streaming, but you pull it from the screen at home and you put it on the big screen. It loses something, like X-Files, for instance. They tried it twice, but those X-Files movies didn't do that great when you moved it.
I mean, we've seen that a lot of time, and when shows tried to make the leap to a movie. So, like you said, the X-Files. I think of they've been trying to get a Community movie off the ground forever. For a while, Dexter was going to be a movie, and then they turned they went right back to making that a series. All the time. Yeah, there's a Chuck. They're trying to make a Chuck reunion movie. All these great series that they're like, it's almost like saying we want one more season, but instead of doing that, it's easier to make 4 episodes and make it a movie than to do like an 8, 10, 12 episode season. So it'd be interesting. And Dave Filoni is incredible storyteller, has done amazingly well within the Star Wars Disney Plus universe, I should say. He does Mandalorian and Tales of Jedi, all these other places. It does make you wonder how he would fare at like a full budget, full on movie. Because usually people that are really good at TV are really good at TV, and people that are really good at movies are really good at movies, and neither shall the two shall cross kind of thing. It's very rare that you see one jump to the other and do exceptionally well at it. So we'll see. I'm curious. I am curious, like you said. I'm curious to see how that goes. But we did get the Ahsoka's. Okay, we got the Ahsoka release August 2023. One that surprised me is that they did announce Andor season 2, which we knew was coming, but to announce it for August of next year.
I think they're still like knee deep in that.
Right. They're in production and whatnot. But, again, Andor, for me, it feels like Andor came out a while ago. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. We've had 3 Mandalorian seasons. One of them was during COVID, or 1.5 of them were during COVID, and they came out relatively quickly. So it's interesting to see that Andor, which was, again, like I agreed with you when you said this before, where maybe wasn't critically oh my God, but man, was a really great series. Yeah. It was a really, really good series. and really put together well, and really told us a many thread storyline narrative really well. Maybe more cohesively than even like The Mandalorian, which is like fucking all over the place.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, you know, I don't know why. I just assumed we'd see, if not end of this year, early next year. I thought we'd see an Andor season 2, but middle of next year.
But here's the other thing. Well, two things. One, Andor was, if I'm not mistaken, it was 12 or 14 episodes.
I'd say it was 10 or 11. Yeah, it was in there.
It was longer, because most of the Mando shows are 8 episodes, and they hover between 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Andor was
an
like
hour each episode. Yeah,
yeah,
almost.
So
almost
you're
an hour,
talking.
yeah.
So if it was 10, let's go ahead without off the top of our head. Let's say it was 10 episodes. You're
Do
talking
some infantry math.
Yeah, you're talking, almost double a Mando season.
Yeah.
So,
Almost like 33,000 minutes right there, like 33,000 hours of television. It's infantry.
Hold on, I got to take my shoe off. But yeah.
I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. Every episode felt like a mini movie.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, with the Mando, it's good, but it definitely feels like episodes of TV. It feels old Western, is what everybody always says. It feels like that. So other things they announced, The Acolyte, which I'm very interested to see. You're shaking your head. I can see you shaking your head. What?
There's I don't know. Anything.
What are your thoughts? Because here's what I heard as I'm listening to the director talk about it. I pulled this quote where she goes, "When I pitched it as Frozen meets Kill Bill," which I think is very fascinating to those very competing thoughts. But the idea that it's like a story about sisters, right? That's the Frozen aspect. It's about family, and about being treated as a villain, although you might be the villain, but you're not the villain, kind of thing.
Right.
And then obviously meets Kill Bill, very much into the cinematically, fighting martial arts, just chaotic battling, kind of narrative driven story. And it was given a 2024 release window. So we are getting it next year. And if I remember correctly, it's early days, right? This is going towards the early side of that. The High Republic days. When the Sith were outnumbered. They were the underdogs of the story, not the Rebellion, not the Jedi. It was the Sith that are the underdogs. So I don't know. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, me personally, just because we haven't really seen a movie from the Sith side of things, right? Outside of like Vader's turn, or a couple things in like the animated stuff, but like a movie from the Sith's perspective and set when the Sith aren't in like control, right? Yeah. Where even early on, Palpatine was already this mastermind and was moving all the chess pieces and all this and all that. So we haven't really seen it where, from the point where like the Sith are on their back foot and trying to, do what they do. But I don't know. And seeing it from, when every Sith has always been portrayed as, pure evil and conflicted and this and angry. And so seeing some type of kind of familial family bond play out from a Sith, I don't know. I feel like it could be, if done well, it could be interesting. And you keyed on that.
Yes, and I'm not going to stray into any craziness or blood. It's who's show running this is where I've got the concern, and so that's the only thing. Who's show running it? Less so much the area they're talking about, but it's who's show running this, and so
more behind the camera than what is on the page or in front of the camera.
Yeah, it's almost the exact opposite of saying, hey, Dave Filoni's doing something. Okay, yeah, because Dave Filoni has track record. Everything from Clone Wars all the way up to, yes. The one that's show running this, okay, we'll see. I'll give it a watch. I mean, I'm the guy that watches, all the Star Wars stuff. I mean, I'll watch it. The only two movies I didn't see in theater were Episode 3 and then Episode 9, and that's because I was in Afghanistan for both of those.
I'm going to challenge that.
What do you mean? Episode 3 and Episode 9?
Did you not? You saw Episode 1 in theater? Or sorry, obviously, God damn it, I got myself mixed up. Episode 3 being like the 1979.
First of all, 1977.
No. Yeah, that's Episode 4.
Episode 4. I did see Episode 4.
You saw theaters. Episode 4 in theaters.
Yes. So,
what were you? 3 months old?
In 1977, no, I was still swimming around in my dad's ball sack. No.
So how could you say you saw it in theaters? Oh, you're saying like a replaying of it?
Yes. So back in the 80s, prior to Return of the Jedi coming out, they brought back the original Star Wars and New Hope, and then Empire Strikes Back. I saw both of those.
That's cheating. That's cheating. When you make a claim like I saw it in theaters, the implication is that you saw the first theatrical run of the movie. That's the implication. I saw it in theaters when it returned. I saw it in theaters when it returned to theaters in 1980, whatever.
Right. Okay. But that's different from saying, hey, I saw it in theaters and I saw it in 1997 for the special editions, which I also did too.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, fine. Potato. We'll agree to disagree. The point of the matter is the only two movies I missed were Revenge of the Sith and then Rise of Skywalker because I was in Afghaniland for both of those.
Yeah. You didn't get one of the bootleg copies?
Actually, I do remember the two of us were sitting there watching it, and you said something. I forget what it was, but the group of us, somebody jumped over the seat and was like, "Shut up, CQ!"
Yeah, I'm always stirring the pot. That's just my role. That's the role I play.
But yes, we didn't see I didn't see a bootleg of Rise of Skywalker. Where was that? Didn't happen, and we came home, and eventually I watched it. But we'll see. And it goes, and it's the same thing going with that other movie they announced, the one that takes place at the very beginning of the timeline.
Yes.
The dawn of the Jedi, the dawn of however it's going to be.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's a wait and see type, attitude. We'll see.
Yeah. And again, I'm curious because for me, who I like Star Wars, and I've seen the majority of the things that they put out, but I haven't obviously gone as far as read all the books and collected all the trading cards and seen all the specials, going super in depth. I know there is a non-canon early explanation for the Jedi and how they came and where the Sith were an actual race on an actual planet, and the Jedi came from the Jedi or some shit like that, or like there's all these explanations that come from the back catalog of old lore. So I'm curious to see how the Disneyfied version and where they see they can draw money. A lot of this I'll be honest, I was okay with.
Right.
It's the one. No offense against Daisy Ridley, who's an incredible actor, and the people behind it. It's the one going like, hey, we're going to go back to the well. We're going to bring back C-3PO. We're going to bring back Chewie. We're going to bring back the money. It's like I feel like we've done that. We've done it. We whether or not they might feel unfulfilled at how it closed, and they want to I feel like they're doing like Dexter coming back, right? And they said we didn't like the way we ended it. We want to give it another go. We think we have a good idea. And I feel like they want to give Daisy Ridley and the Rey character this one last shot of let's close it on let's fix what we messed up. And I get all that, but I feel like we're good. We've got enough Skywalker saga. We've closed the book. I like the other stuff they're doing to tell other stories. go Old Republic, go High Republic, go Dawn of the Jedi. Tell us stories outside of this galaxy, right? We're talking about like this is all Star Wars galaxy. What's happening in the fucking neighboring galaxy? You know what I mean? Like there's so much you can do.
And you mentioned how they keep going back to the well. I look at it more along the lines of they're not wanting to come out of their comfort zone, because look at what's come out in last 5 years for the most part. It's all centered with the end of the Clone Wars and the beginning of the Rebellion. Bad Batch, Andor, Rogue One, Rebels. Don't get me wrong, I love it all. The Dark Times. That's where they keep going back to. Obi-Wan. That series was set during the Dark Times. So, go someplace else. Don't go 15 years into the future. Let's go 150. Let's go, for lack of better terms, Star Wars: The Next Generation. Give me something almost a century later with a whole group, that they reference back to Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, but it's a whole new crew of people doing.
I like
adventures.
that. And you could do to the comparison of Star Trek Next Generation, whereas old school Star Trek, it was like Enterprise versus Klingons, but then Next Generation, you had the Klingon on board with Worf. Like you could have a group of Jedi and one of them's a Sith. Like that's a practice within the new Jedi temple, right? Like they're the executioners. They're the Judge Dredd of the Jedi Order, right? They're the Judge Dredd executioner in a controlled stance of Sith. Red becomes one of the Jedi Order colors.
If you recall, Mace Windu, Sam Jackson's character, he had that purple lightsaber, and the real reason was Sam Jackson wanted purple. But what they said, the story wise was Mace Windu treaded as close as he could to the dark side without succumbing to the dark side, but that was his style of fighting, and
he was the most aggressive style of Jedi fighter. Which yes, the true reason, and I asked him himself. I have a story I could tell about none of that. The reason Sam Jackson said that he went with the purple is that, purple is one of his favorite colors, but he said knowing that there was going to be that big clone fight, he goes, being the only guy with purple, I could easily find myself in all the scenes.
So he could stand out. I heard that story too. Yes.
Which, great. It's just awesome. If you have that imagine having that level of sway to go to George Lucas, like, hey, I want a purple lightsaber. And he's like, well, we don't have purple lightsabers. He's like, well, I want a purple lightsaber. All right, well, we got a purple lightsaber now.
Now, there was one other announcement from LucasArts or Lucasfilm this weekend.
Oh, there was a lot more, but please go ahead.
No, I was going to talk about that didn't take place in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, I see where you're going with that. Yeah.
Yes. And you were talking about going back to the well too many times. Yeah, I know.
I'm just not a look. I like the Indiana Jones movies. I liked with a D the Indiana Jones movies as a kid.
Raiders, Temple of Doom,
Last
Crusade.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't need to see skulls that are crystal. And all right.
They tried like young Indiana Jones. Remember that was a thing?
Well, that was a TV show, and it did fairly well.
Yeah.
But that was done, it came out after Last Crusade, if I recall correctly. Yeah. But that was different. Yeah. And that worked. Now you've got, how old is Harrison Ford? Late 70s, pushing 80. Harrison Ford, he forgets to tie his shoelace and he fractures something, and production shuts down for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It happened on Christ. Force Awakens.
I can't escape the feeling of what we were just talking about, in that it's like Disney's like, well, A, it's an established franchise, so money. Yeah. But B, it's like, we didn't do so good on the last one, and we don't want that to be the end legacy of that character. So we have to one more shot. And okay, for a second, you know who I blame for all this?
Kathleen Kennedy.
No, bigger than that. And it's a leap, but go with me. I blame the Fast and the Furious. I know it's a leap.
Okay.
But them going like, we can just keep churning this out and people will keep buying it regardless of how ridiculous the premise and the story plots and the points. People dying doesn't matter. We'll just come back and leave and like it's a goddamn comic book. And just the very fact of like, oh, if that movie didn't do so well, all right, we'll just release another one and go even bigger and more stupendous. Bring in more names. And it's like the Disney and a lot of these companies are kind of like, huh, so you could just make another one. Like, and it's like, oh, okay. Like, and they don't care. Is it cars swinging on a vine? And everybody's fine with that? It broke records? What? Oh, okay. Hey, is Harrison Ford still alive? Suit him up.
But you know why they can do that, right? Because they got family. It's because of the family. The family. It's all in the family. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that's the world we live in. But that's the reality. That's the reality of it. I don't want to talk about Indy. It just upsets me. And I'm sure it'll be a fine movie. I'm sure it'll be a fine movie. I'm sure they're gonna make up for the mistakes they made in the past. I hope
Shia LaBeouf.
Yep.
And it is what it is. A couple more. We're running short on time, but a couple more things that came out of the Star Wars celebration that I wanted to touch on. Skeleton Crew coming out 2023, so that's this year sometime. Tales of the Jedi, I was actually surprised, is getting a season 2. That was kind of a surprise to me, but kudos. I enjoyed it. It was very simple storytelling, very small bits, jump around the timeline, but kind of from a larger perspective, have a kind of thread. I found that interesting and filled a couple of story gaps from the Star Wars universe. I can appreciate that. One that I don't know how I feel about this one. I know how I feel about it. Half really excited and interested and half kind of like, really? Lando Calrissian, the series, is still on the table. KK said it's definitely happening. Her exact quote is, "It's definitely happening," and Donald Glover is definitely on board.
I've got a caveat.
Please.
I want Billy D. Williams involved in some way, shape, or form. Like book into each episode or something.
I got it. Do a How I Met Your Mother style show where it's Billy Dee. So one time on Coruscant, and it flashes back to Donald Glover doing the whole episode, and then and that, kids, is how I met Han Solo or something like that.
That Colt 45.
That Colt 45. But yeah, that's actually I don't know. I could kind of like a Star Wars sitcom. Oh, I could kind of see that
with Danny Glover, the way he does stuff, like especially how if he was to play the straight man, but not, but still, especially kind of how the stuff he did in Community. Oh yeah. I could,
man. I'm kind of convincing myself now on like a Lando Calrissian, like almost like The Office. But it's Star Wars and it's Lando Calrissian.
If done right, it could be like legitimate. Like, oh my God!
Like Star how he went from a scoundrel, to leading Cloud City, and just kind of his rise to power in that way, and that Michael Scott kind of way of like just lucking himself into better positions.
No, and here's the thing. This is how you end the final episode of that. Let's say it's 8 episodes, the end of 8 season, season finale. And he says, and that's how. And then Harrison Ford walks in and goes, "No, kids, that's not how it happened. This is how it happened." And it kind of
you could tie it all the way back here. How about this? series finale. You're ending the very last episode, and it's Billy D sitting there, and it's got to be him de-aged, and you plug it into. He gets an alert that the Millennium Falcon is approaching, and it's episode. What was that episode?
It's Empire Strikes Back. They're approaching.
Right, they come to, and Darth Vader, and then the camera spins, and it's Lando talking to Darth Vader. He's telling him the story of how he got to that position, and he's like, well, that's Han Solo, and he's like, I'm gonna go stand over there. You bring him into me, and that's how you end the series to tie it right back in. Oh God,
that would be yes. The whole time Billy D is just narrating, you never see him, and then that could
work, right? Star Wars, holla at your boy. Is it Kathy? Yeah. Katie, whatever the fuck your name is.
Kathy,
Lucas,
KK.
Hit me on the what's it? Satcom? What do they call it in Star Wars? The little fucking telephone video thing.
The holocron.
Yeah. Hit me up on the holocron me. Holocron me.
Hey, John Favreau. Hey.
Dave Filoni. Get at your boy. Have your people call my people. So, okay, a couple more things. So, Lando series, they're saying it's coming. The Taika Waititi, damn it, fucking name is impossible. Taika Waititi Star Wars film is still, no details came out about it. They glossed over it. Nobody said anything about it, but it is still reportedly being developed. He's writing the script. It's taking long because he's literally writing it by himself. And every time they try to help him write it, he goes, no, I want to do this myself. So it's going to take a little bit longer to get done. Ewan McGregor. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, just as long as he doesn't offer a part to Natalie Portman again.
Sure. Fair enough. Ewan McGregor did publicly state he wants an Obi-Wan season 2. Lucasfilm, on the other hand, has been like, we'll see. So he wants to do it. Nobody seems to want to do it, so we'll see where that ends up. We did touch on Rogue Squadron. It's not on the books. It's not in development, although KK herself said it is still possibly a thing that could happen in the future, although no word on whether it could be a series or a movie or what. But it is not actively in development, but she says it is on the shelf of things that could be worked on at some point. I don't know.
Just hand it over to Tom Cruise and his crew that did Maverick. Just let them take it.
They don't even shoot anything. They just CGI Star Wars over Maverick. Just everybody gets a CGI overdub and then just play the exact same movie. Still makes $1 billion worldwide. I'm just saying. You spend $400 million on CGIing the whole movie. Voice over, add some subtitles for alien languages. Boom, you got yourself a Star Wars movie. Done deal. And then the last bit of news to kind of close out our discussion on Star Wars, our Star Wars special, is that Star Wars Celebration itself will not be happening next year. 2024, it will not happen, but it will be back 2025 in Japan, of all places. So if you ever wanted to go and see these things and be part of these things in person, your chance 2 years from now, oh my God, you've got an idea.
You've ever raise money? Send your boy to Japan to cover Star Wars Celebration for the channel.
Yeah.
We got 2 years to do this. Let's make it happen.
All we need to do is raise like $10,000 and we can afford to fly, hotel, tickets, and the whole experience to Star Wars Celebration in Japan 2025.
Hey, we've got benefits. We can fly Space A. We can fly that cargo plane full of rubber dog shit.
Fair enough. All right. Before we sign off here, I'm gonna give you. You got anything to close this out? You got any thoughts on Star Wars? Any thoughts on anything else before we kind of wrap it up here?
I say just pay attention to the next couple of weeks. Mando's season 2's got 2 episodes left, and I think they're gonna swing for the fences on these last 2 episodes, and hopefully tie everything together. They got, a
lot of loose threads this season. A lot of loose threads that are we're not really seeing where they intertwine just yet. But I'm curious to see how that all plays out. There's,
I've heard rumors that the next episode is going to feature Moff Gideon, and then who knows what's going to happen in the final episode. But hopefully, hopefully it's satisfying. We'll see.
Yeah. Mando's almost done. Ahsoka's right around the corner. A lot of really cool shit coming on. If you're a Star Wars fan, what better time to be alive? Lots of content. The animation's getting the due credit that it's deserved by finally tying it into the main universe timeline. I'll say that they showed the Ahsoka trailer, and there was one shot in particular in the trailer that kind of, I was like, oh shit, they did that, which is, it's an inverse, the final shot of Rebels when the ship is leaving. If you look at the trailer for Ahsoka, it's the reverse. You're seeing the ship leaving, coming at you. So like, that's a really cool, like if you look at Rebels as an end and it's like, it's leaving, and now Ahsoka as the series, it's coming at you. It's a very interesting little trick they did there in perception and kind of tying it all together. So very cool, very exciting to see what they do with it. And lots of Star Wars stuff, on the horizon as it is.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, we didn't even touch everything that is coming. So with that, I'm going to thank Mr. Angry Elf for joining me today and
anytime
breaking all the nerdy Star Wars stuff down. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you've had a good time.
I know I did.
For you at home, it's not over yet. I'm going to toss it to myself. How do I do this? I'm going to toss it to an alternate timeline version of myself who will be dressed differently.
We're going into the multiverse.
Yes. I'm going to toss it to another CQ who's not the live CQ, who's currently sitting in a movie theater, which actually should be probably wrapping up right about this time. But this CQ is the CQ from the past who's interviewing the amazing actor Vincent Vargas, who's a military veteran. Just huge, crazy, wow history and chain of events and how he became an actor, but being a veteran and a ranger and airborne and drill sergeant and working in corrections and then getting with like the vet bros of he was in Range 15 and then kind of backwards falling into being an actor. And is now a incredibly talented actor. And Mayans season 6 is right around the corner. I think it's they just announced it not too long ago, like June 24th or something like that. Yeah. Mayans season 6 is coming, which will be the final season of Mayans. So very excited to see where he goes after that. And he's a great guy. We really hit it off. Watch the interview. It is so good, and I'm not going to spoil it. Some things are said, some promises are made. Very excited to see what could come of the future. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to let y'all speculate, but you won't have to wait long, because right now I'm going to toss it over to myself. First, Mr. Angry Elf, say goodbye to the audience.
Goodbye, audience.
And with that, I'm going to toss it over to myself. So CQ, take it away, brother. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I am so excited to have this next guest. My guest tonight is a phenomenal actor. And not just that, he's a producer, he's a writer, a motivational speaker, a podcaster. But most importantly, he is a U.S. Army veteran, having served multiple combat tours with the 75th Ranger Regiment. He reached the rank of Sergeant First Class before moving on to work with the Arizona Department of Corrections and eventually the U.S. Border Patrol. This guy's history is incredible. I cannot wait to have this conversation. I know you guys have been excited for it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's dive into it head first. Everyone, please give a huge welcome to actor/veteran Vincent Rocco Vargas, everybody. Woo!
Let me correct something real quick, because
please.
People go like, man, how do you do all that? So active duty 4 years. I left as an E5, went into the reserve, became a drill sergeant. At the same time, then I became a prison guard, but it wasn't Department of Corrections. I think someone put that on my Wikipedia and it kind of blew up, but it was actually a private prison called CCA, California Corrections Corporation of America. And then I applied for the Border Patrol. Same time, 2 timelines going, military, drill sergeant, and then I went psychological operations and blah, blah, blah. Eventually I retired in 2020 as a sergeant first class. It was time to walk away. Life was getting busy. I couldn't promote the way I wanted. I wanted to be a sergeant major, dude. That was like my dream. But yeah, so that's kind of the timeline. It gets a little convoluted and crazy throughout the years of like Wikipedia and other people writing my history.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for the clarification. I want to do you justice, sir. I want to make sure you're represented the correct way.
I get nervous, right? Because someone will be like, yo, he wasn't Department of Corrections. Like, no, I never said that. I said corrections, and people took it as that.
Gotcha.
So, it is.
So I mean, right off the bat, this is the same question I always ask everybody, right? What's your military connection? Very few, in 3 years, I don't think I've ever had one that actually served. So let's real quick, high level, you gave us a taste, but like, what's your military connection? There you go.
Yeah. I joined the military in 2003 with a 11 X-ray contract with a Ranger, identifier if I passed. And so I went from infantry to airborne to RIP at the time, which is now called Ranger Assessment Selection Program. And then I went to 2nd Ranger Battalion. I did 3 tours there, had a great time. And then I decided to get out and go the reserve route. I wanted to try something different. There's a lot more to that story. We ain't trying to get emotional today. Sure. But yeah, then I went into the reserves as a drill sergeant. And for the rest of my career, I stayed in the reserves. I got activated as a drill sergeant at some point, and I was a drill sergeant at Fort Sill, doing my thing, had that brown round and popping people in the face with it. No, it wasn't legal then. But then, I continued my career. I went into psychological operations for a little bit. I was an NCO there for a minute, got promoted right back into the drill sergeant unit. And eventually, as my career in the civilian world kind of got busy, my efforts in the reserves, slowed down. And so I wasn't able to promote the way I wanted. I wasn't the soldier that I would like myself to be. And so I went ahead and got medically retired.
Hey, God bless. I mean, thank you for your service, obviously, first and foremost. Just because I key on drill sergeant, because I know a couple guys I know a couple guys that served. They went the drill sergeant route, and there's always some really fun, fascinating, crazy stories. I mean, you got to have at least one story to share with us. The drill sergeant time.
Oh, I have tons of them, dude. This is like it's probably the most rewarding time of my life. Honestly, I loved mentoring these young kids and helping them prepare themselves for combat or potential combat. But there's these, things like the drug test, right? When people had to do the urinalysis test, the UAs, I had this kid named Drody, and he was always this really he was an interesting character kid, right? Kind of from like the South, a very strong accent. And as he's trying to pee in the cup, he's struggling because I'm staring at his pecker, because this is what we do, right? And I'm like, let's go, Drody. Hey, private, let's go. If you don't piss now, I'm gonna make you do push-ups so you gotta piss, right? One of those things. And he goes, but drill sergeant, I gotta poop a little. And so I was like, oh shit, man. So then we gotta go over to the toilet where this dude's sitting down, takes his shit, pisses in his cup, and I'm like, man, I hate when they do that crap to me. But with his little voice, man, we all couldn't stop laughing, man, because his voice was so particular, man. And, there's a lot of beautiful incidents there. I just loved being a part of that world, dude. And there's some funny stuff. There's some emotional stuff. I almost got in trouble. Almost lost my hat and badge once. Yeah. That's a serious violation when you do that. And I made everyone in the room write their death letter. And I was so pissed at them because I felt like they weren't taking the training serious.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this. Everybody get in here. Form it up. Right. And I already told my other drill sergeants, like, get 6 or 7 songs of just like soldiers coming home, like Dixie Chicks, a soldier's coming home, letters from home, all these sad songs. And I said, get them ready. And I said, go get an envelope, 2 pieces of paper right now. And I said, fix all your wrongs and say sorry to whoever the fuck you need to say sorry to. Say goodbye to anyone you need to say. Fix it all now. This is a reality check, motherfuckers. You might not be coming back, right? And bro, there wasn't a dry eye in the room crying. And bro, so one person complained about it eventually. And, you know, I had to have the conversation with old Top, and he understood my intention of it. Right. And to be honest, I think there was more value out of that. There was people, I held everyone's letter. I kept them for graduation. I gave them to them. Right. And one of the girls said she sent it to her father, who she hadn't talked to in 12 years. And it started the relationship back over again. She goes, it was a moment where I was able, it worked, right? The intention worked, but I was so frustrated because they didn't realize the potential of them leaving basic training, go to AIT, and then right away, potentially getting deployed to combat. And so when I'm teaching things like BRM and they're taking it like complete freaking knuckleheads, I was like, no, hell no, let's make a reality check out of this. And I got in trouble for that one.
Yeah, I can understand. I appreciate that. I really do. Just because, so again, this is not about me, but I joined in 2003 as well. January 15, 2003, 11 X-ray, same deal, airborne. And I remember, you know, obviously we joined because of 9/11, right? Anyone post that, there's only one reason from 2001 to like 2008. There was only one reason, one answer. Why'd you join? 9/11. Always same answer. And so I remember being in basic we might have been in basic around the same fucking time.
October 2003.
I was January. So I beat you by a little bit. But you know, I remember in basic, the drill sergeant's just repeating over and over. And like, this is serious. Like, you're the first class, because that, the invasion was in March. It was in February and March. So like, they're like, this isn't a game anymore. This isn't like, we're going to, get you, we're going to play soldier. Like, no, this is, your ass is going to war. You are going to fight and you are probably going to die. Like, and I just remember sitting there and being like, holy shit. Like, I knew I signed up. I knew what I signed up for, but I just remember when the drill sergeants got serious about it, I was like, holy shit, this is real. Dude.
So it's crazy. So I was a drill sergeant. I got activated in 2011, I believe it was. No, 2010. And I did from 2010 to 2011, right? And I'm a reserve drill sergeant, so I show up and they already hate us because they're like, fuck, I'm reservist, right? And then we do a PT test, and we are reservists full time, right? The difference between us and active duty is this is what we do. We actually volunteered for it, right? So we show up with active duty who hates us because they call us reservists, right? But they hate being there because they got forced to do it, right? They were DA selected. Like, here's your relaxed time from combat of 15 months. Come be a drill sergeant. So that sucks already. So they're already disgruntled. But then we show them, we're like, look, all I'm trying to do is take time for you. I'm trying to help you out. So take kick rocks, go hang out with the family. Let me take this next month off, right? And so we ended up doing a year, and it was a beautiful time. But man, it was an eye-opener because the first class I did was actually a class called WTC, Warrior Transition Center. And it was actually people that were coming off of active duty at some point, wanting to get back into the service. Oh. It was a mini basic training. So I did that for 2 classes. And in that class, we ended up losing a dude within 3 months of him graduating, going to his unit, and got killed in IED. And that for me was like, oh, fuck, I know what we're doing here. We're actually we're training these men and women to survive. We're giving them everything we fucking got, right? And some people weren't so adamant about that, but I come from a combat unit, so I know what that feels like. And so my intentions changed dramatically because I was there like everyone else, like, dude, party hard, play hard, you know what I mean? And then when you saw that happen, you're like, hold up, man, like we're actually doing something here that can save someone's life. Yeah. And so I completely changed the way I saw it, and man, I started giving everybody everything I got, man.
That's as it should be, as it absolutely should be. Okay, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. So this is a pop culture show. As you can tell by my background, super nerd.
I need to get you some Mayan stuff, bro.
Lions? Oh, okay.
No, Mayans.
Oh, Mayan. I was gonna say lions. What? Okay, but now, hell yeah, man. Fucking some Mayan. I'll put some Mayan shit back there. You crazy? So I want to ask you, as an entertainer, as a professional, what do you geek out about? What are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about good writing and great acting. I have this thing that me and my wife laugh about. If someone writes something and they put like an emotion into words that I've never heard before, I'm fucking pissed that I didn't think of it first. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, that's so good. The way they made that, the way they said that, whatever. Like when a writer creates some dialogue that just like, just rips me apart, I'm pissed off that he was able to attain that emotion from me and I couldn't do it myself. Right. And so I'm very envious and very, very very jealous of someone who can put words together in a way that I've never thought of and make me have an emotion. It fucks me up, dude. I get pissed. And so I'm very passionate about writing, but I'm passionate also about actors who can take the dialogue and run with it into a place where it again, I'm emotionally invested. I love emotional dramas, like really hard things to watch. I just love that because I love to see people take themselves there. And as an actor, I know how hard it is. And I'm always curious about what they're channeling, right? So what we have as actors is a process. Everyone has their own process of how they do these things. And so I'm always curious about what their process is and actually what they're channeling because it's heartbreaking in a sense to watch them break themselves on camera. You know what I mean? And 90% of the times, they're not really crying about whatever they're conveying in the message. They're crying about something else. Yeah, something deep, dude. And, I think I have that gift as well. So I'm very envious that they get the opportunity to do that. And I find I'm so fascinated by it.
Do you think, and I want to say this with no ill intent whatsoever, but do you think like broken people make the best actors? Like people who have suffered, people that can go to that dark place?
Yeah, I do in a sense. And you know what I think, man, and I'm going to say this. I think that people that haven't experienced create their own drama. You know what I mean? I think people that haven't had that already go and create their own version of that to try and reach it. And so I think that's why you have these self-destructive characteristics in particular, like actors and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know.
The method actors.
Some of those guys go deep, dude. And that's something I don't plan on trying.
Good. We want to keep it all together right in there. So something I love to ask people, because this is the get to know you portion of the interview, right? So I love to ask people like, oh, what charities do you support? What foundations are you a part of? Now, I know you in particular, because I've done my research. Talk to me about Veteran, because I'm blown away by it. I want to know more. Yeah,
man. So Veteran is interesting. I've been in some t-shirt companies. I've owned t-shirt companies. They've been very successful financially and everything. But they always kind of left me feeling like I wasn't bringing value in a way that I would like to, the whole Article 15 era was a fun era for me. It was actually something I needed at that time. But I also grew way past that kind of comedy and that kind of the dick fart joke humor.
The juvenile stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just, at one point I needed it. And at one point I loved it. And now I'm kind of like, my kids are going to watch these videos and be like, dude, what's up with you? And so I knew that if I felt that way, I felt like the community would probably be growing with me. For the most part. And I wanted to make a company and establish something that is positive. Right. And so the term veteran, it accidentally slipped out of my mouth one day. And I was like, ooh, that's actually kind of catchy. And that means everything that I represent, right? Everything that I'm trying to push to the world is becoming a better veteran. Right. And because I think that the positive, it also stems from like the whole focus on suicide, right? Everyone focuses on suicide. Everyone focuses on suicide. And during psychology classes and doing all these studies, I realized like, man, we're doing it wrong. And we're highlighting the most negative aspect of a veteran, right? I say this all the time. And so I wanted to create something of a positive place. And what Veteran started is just the idea and kind of a cultural shift of a movement. Like, let's promote better veterans. Let's be better. Let's just be better people, right? And as I started thinking like, well, how can I help like really from the ground up do that? Well, maybe if I create an infrastructure that helps bring people in and do that. So we're slowly trying to get to the point where we can build our first Veteran Transition Center. And it would be a place where people can show up and be like, all right, I'm ready. And it's like, cool, we can help you with this, right? And so it's going to be a long time before that actually happens. But, Veteran is there. The organization exists. It is a for-profit, but supports by also nonprofit behind it. The nonprofit is called Tomorrow Battalion. And it's me doing everything. So I have my mother-in-law now doing all the paperwork and everything, and it's official, but we still have to get all the documentation organized. And but like we're doing the money from veteran, 50% of it goes straight to the nonprofit, and the other 50% just goes to build the company. So no one's taken from it, right? Like I'm not making money off of it, but it exists to push a positive message for the community, and even further past that, right? Like going back to the whole suicide thing, I just got really frustrated of 20 years of seeing the same thing. A lot of people saying they're trying to help, but no real change was happening, right? Superficial things were changing. And so I've dug even deeper into myself and kind of understanding how we can really mitigate these things. And it really starts with shifting mindsets in our community. And so, that's where this whole movement comes from for me.
Yeah, and I do. We're gonna touch on that because I think it's important.
Oh, we can get deep on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, this is a very like lighthearted, fun. Let's talk about movies and TV and things. But also, I'm as a veteran, as someone who was wounded in combat, as someone who suffered from PTSD, as someone who's dealt with social anxiety and nightmares and anger issues, all these things. I'm very passionate, obviously, about that topic. And again, this isn't about me, but I serve as a mentor and I run a support group for veterans. And one of the things we always talk about is like, how do we support each other to be the best version of ourselves we can be? That's it. Yeah. Like we're not here to take on the world and conquer this, but like, let's be the best version of ourselves that we can be. And if we can do that, if we can all do that, the world changes. You know what I mean? Anyway, I get all passionate about it. No,
you're absolutely right. But look, we need more people like that, right? Because we don't want to exist in the culture in the doom and gloom era, right? It's kind of what we have, and we need to shift out of that.
Absolutely. So on that note, I read you wrote this amazing like blog article post about veteran representation in film. I did. It's so good. As a person who is passionate about movies and passionate about TV, but also very passionate about my military and my experience and my trauma. You talk about things how like spotlighting on PTSD issues with PTSD and things it's great that they're giving it a moment to shine that people can get involved and understand. But the tail end of it, it's becoming the narrative. It's becoming the only story. And that you worry too, that it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and that you're telling people that's your only way out.
Yeah. And not, it has become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? The whole thing has become the self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you look at veterans as a whole, the majority of veterans are actually pretty successful. They find a way, right? Absolutely. There's a minority who have the serious struggles that movies represent, right? They have the serious struggle that these television shows highlight, and which has now become the minority to the civilian population who just really doesn't know too well about that world because they're not the veterans. They see that as the majority. Right. So they view all of us as broken. They're like, oh man, do you have the PSD? I don't know how to say it, and I love them for their heart. But it is film and television who's kind of helped cause that issue, right? Has helped create this almost a systemic issue of people thinking of us that way. Right. And that's why when I wrote that blog, I was like, there's two parts. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. What I have to do is change it. And I have to change it with myself. So I can't sit here and be like, hey, producers, write better stories for veterans. Like, no. I better become a producer and do it myself. That's why I'm here, right? Because I get tired of the thought process of people complaining, but not doing anything about it, right? In the military, where they say, if you come up with a problem, you better have an answer, right? So that's how I see it. I wrote that blog in the sense where like, hey, producers, writers, if you guys have questions about veterans, hit me up. Let me help you kind of orchestrate the direction of a veteran story that's not overdone and overused, right? Because people have the idea of like, oh, we're just going to bring awareness to this. I'm like, everyone's fucking aware. Everyone knows, right? This isn't a secret anymore, right? And so it's like, and if you don't know, like nothing's really changed. So nothing's working. So maybe we should try and shift that narrative a little bit, right? And so when I do public speaking now, I talk about messaging and how valuable our messaging is and how sometimes our own people are fucking that up too, right? Sometimes our own veterans are so hooked onto this. They're so passionate about the suicide prevention that they're still promoting the negative, right? And you're like, wait, think about your messaging and what we're giving to people. We should be talking about, so here's how I see suicide. So we'll talk on this whole thing if you don't mind.
Please. Oh, please.
I'm going to go all right now.
Go all the way.
So
all the way.
We talk about, I usually don't like to even say the word suicide because I don't want to give that the motherfucking energy, right? I usually call it terminal crisis, right? Because what I believe it is people have crisis in life that lead to terminal crisis, right? And so what are those areas of potential crisis? That's what I work on with my mentorship group and people. So I mentor dudes myself, right? And what I work on is stopping or mitigating those crises, right? And those crises are easy money. Everyone has financial issues, dude. That feels like you're suffocating, dude. And we could have money issues from, like you say, the disability or work, whatever the heck it is. That's one. That's a crisis. Relationship crisis. A lot of us don't know how to have healthy relationships, never been in a healthy relationship. And what you think is healthy actually is not healthy, right? That could cause crisis. Alcohol, drugs, crisis all the way. Excuse me for my indigestion. But like, so these areas, and then fitness, I think people needed me to add fitness. So if you can mitigate the potential areas that lead to crisis, to terminal crisis, right? Well, then you're now teaching people how to have a better wellness lifestyle, which would most likely prevent them ever getting to that point. Right. But we're too busy focusing on like the end state. Like, well, it's like saying, hey, if you eat too many bananas, it'll cause cancer. They're like, okay, well, we'll start treating the cancer. Like, no, just stop fucking eating bananas. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, yo, if drinking is killing our veterans, stop promoting drinking. I own a whiskey company. I don't promote it. I really don't care what happens with it anymore because I'm sober and I know that alcohol has been killing our veterans. Right. I was part of Drinking Bros. I still am. I'm part of it. But I also know the kind of nuance of what it created. We created a drinking culture accidentally. What we were, our intentions were to create a space where if a veteran was drinking alone, we can stop suicide by having a friend with them.
A community, yeah.
Right. So the community and the intention was pure. But the I guess the tertiary effects of that, we're creating a drinking culture. And drinking is what kills a lot of our brothers and sisters. And so like I've seen this happen. I feel bad that you know, I'm part of this whole thing. But at the same time, like that's why I'm so adamant now of like, let's speak the truth about this. We can't focus on the outcome. We have to focus on what can potentially drive someone to that factor and mitigate those areas. So teach people how to be financial literate, teach people what healthy relationships are, teach people that alcohol in our world is just what people have told us is what you do when you go to combat and you come back and you're friends, right? It's almost like we were raised to believe that alcoholism is part of being a veteran, and bullshit, it's not. I've been sober almost 4 years, and trust me, my life is way better without it. You know, and so I'm trying to teach people that. And in the same sense, I try to teach Hollywood that we're not broken. Look at me, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I'm thriving in this space, you know, and I want to show that there's a lot of us that are, not just me. And so that's why I wrote that blog, was like, I'm tired of them continuing to push this message because the rest of the world believes it. And that doesn't help us. It actually hurts us. And if you're a veteran telling that same messaging, like, realize that that's not helping, right? It's not that it's not true. There's truth in those stories, sure, you know, but there's also truth in success stories too, right? There's also truth in multi-million-dollar companies, these businessmen, these actors, these writers, and those don't get highlighted because those don't create likes and shares.
Yeah, they don't generate controversy and
right.
and prey on people's fears and prey on people's, you know, generosity. Oh, my tender heart. Oh, poor baby. And I just want to fix him. And no, it's so true, man. You know, I have a collection of vet friends that, like, we talk about movies and we talk about things. And like, while, you know, it's great to see the Lone Survivor movie, like that's awesome. And to know that is true. There are people out there. But that is the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, you know what I mean, that are experiencing that. But then, you know, you have your cousin and your friend, your next door neighbor, like, oh, so that's what it was like for you, right? And I'm like, no, not. It was a lot of gate guard, a lot of you know, checkpoints, a lot of you know, just running around and doing shit. But yeah, no, those stories need to be told, you know. And I always feel like the extremes are always Medal of Honor war hero, or crazed PTSD on the guy threatening to kill people on the news. Like there's no middle, and again, those are the far edges possible, and there's so much in between it. So much.
Oh, absolutely.
Another thing, I'm going to touch on that article one more time, because you also talk about like the sickness, the service and the sickness. And I've known so many guys who come up with these, or not come up with them, get diagnosed with these just like shit that you're like, you shouldn't have cancer in your knees. And yet from your service, your lungs are all fucked up, when it's like, but why? Like, yes, for your age, for your gender, for your ethnicity, like it's out of character. But what's the one thing these all guys have is service in their, in their background. Yes. One stat jumped out at me, and I didn't even know this, and I try to be pretty knowledgeable about the stuff. But you wrote that if you served on active duty during post 9/11 in the U.S. Air Force, you are at least 3.79 times more likely to be diagnosed with cancer than your civilian counterpart. And that fucking floored me. Bro, that floored me.
The numbers is crazy. We've lost over 250,000 veterans. 250,000 veterans have been diagnosed with cancer. 150,000 of them have been killed from this war fight time frame, right? But not all of those are combat related, right? To the Air Force, just something about the Air Force, the fuel, the ammunition, the barracks, whatever it is, right? And so they can't even pinpoint. So all this data comes from Hunter 7 Foundation. I want to mention that because they're an incredible organization that is kind of spearheading this. And if you guys are listening, go check them out and support them, because they have done all the research on this. It's from 2001 to 2021, I believe it was. It's like over, I don't know the numbers. I don't want to mess it up, but I think it was over 500,000 people have served. Over 250,000 have been diagnosed with cancer, and over 150,000 have been died from cancer. Some crazy. 1 out of 7 veterans from that time frame will have been diagnosed with cancer. That's the scariest stat ever, and people are still focusing on the suicide, because that's a sad thing, right? Mm-hmm. It all hurts all of our bleeding hearts, but we're ignoring the biggest killer of all: mm-hmm. cancer, stomach cancer, throat cancer, brain cancer, freaking pancreatic cancer,
breast cancer, all of it. Throat. I've seen it.
My circle, my own friend, a friend of mine from basic training, Cortez, man, what a solid dude. We went to basic training. He went to 1st Ranger Battalion. I went to 2nd Ranger Battalion. We pretty much had the same career field. He got out and went law enforcement. I got out and went law enforcement. He found out he had cancer. 6 months later, he passed, dude. And I told my wife, I'm like, we've had almost the same exact career. I got to go get tested. So I called Hunter 7. I said, yo, here's the deal. I have stomach issues. I've had stomach issues for like 15 years, it feels like. I really need to get checked. And I did the whole thing. They put me through the whole test and everything. And my screening came back clear, thank God. And man, what a relief that felt. But terrified to hear those stats, and to think that, we're not even paying attention to that because we haven't thought of that. We're too busy focused on the other issues that we're all dealing with too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was the biggest threat to us right now is not suicide. It's cancer.
Yeah. And it doesn't get media. It's not sexy. It's not sexy to talk about, No. It's not newsworthy, which is
I'm trying to make a documentary about it. What I want to do is make a documentary. I'm looking for some investors to help me with that, because that subject, we can't ignore that. It's dangerous.
No, absolutely. And now everything I've read about you and watched some of your videos and your speeches and things, and you talk so openly about your struggles with PTSD and alcoholism, your sleep issues, everything. If you can, and I know again, as a guy who's been doing this for 20 years and has been through it, I know you can't sum it all up in a nutshell, right? You can't just all pocket it because it's vast, but as best as you can, what do you attribute to kind of coming through on the other side? What was it that helped get you through to a better place?
Well, I'll tell you, it's the same thing that I kind of mentor others to do. Is I've been deep diving in all the different modalities of therapy, right? And so I started off with EMDR with an incredible therapist. Her name is Tanya Glenn out of Round Rock, Texas, and she started the path. She said to me, fuck your feelings, dude. I'm here to help you with a chemical thing that happened in your brain. And that's why you're having post-traumatic stress, right? I was having these nightmares. I was having and very, very weird incident happened overseas, and that's irrelevant. But what I brought home from that was this nightmare of confusion, right? And this nightmare that I kept seeing this old lady's face, not her face, more of her emotion. And one day she's mad at me. The next day she's looking for help. Both dreams, I can't do anything, right? It's so like, and it was this, we're in Afghanistan. We're coming around a corner. We're in a Humvee. I'm coming out. It's the same dream with different like scenarios every time. And for some reason, the emotion that I was feeling was so haunting. I was like, fuck that. I'm never sleeping again. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? It's like this feeling that was like, nope.
You just don't want to experience it.
Yeah. I want that again. You know what I mean? And so that was haunting me for a minute, dude. And I didn't know who to talk to at the time, because really I was only real like combat veteran in my circles, because I just got into the Border Patrol. Even when I was in the prison system, there wasn't really having any friends that understood it. So I really wasn't. It was really early on my like trying to like, whoa, this is not normal, right? I had a couple little incidents of like I have like these day, I call them episodes, where like I think I'm in combat and I just kind of zone out, right? I thought I was getting sniped at one point, and just like really weird things like that. But who do you talk to about that when you're just kind of fresh out of the military and just trying to figure it out, you know? And so I wasn't telling anyone until I told a buddy, and then I was in the Border Patrol, and I almost shot a dude because I got confused whether I was in Afghanistan or I was in the border. And I was wearing the same boots I wore in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? These Merrills. I had the same kind of rifle in my hands. I had the same kind of gloves. I bought all the same gear from active duty to Border Patrol. I'm chasing a dude wearing night vision goggles, and the smell, the smell of someone in Afghanistan that's in the hills is a very pungent smell. And someone who's been hiking for 8 days in the border trying to get to America smells the same. And then if you have a little bit of burnt trash, oh, hey, way too many smells that are right on point.
Sure. And
in my head, I was like, is this a squirter, right? So the ROE in combat, a squirter, you can engage. And so I was like, ROEs, this is a squirter, I can shoot him, right? But then I'm like, wait, what did this dude even do? And then I started like coming in and out of the conversation in my own head. So I got to the point of like I caught up to the dude and just sat him down, and I was like, yo, that was like a really bad moment, because I could have ruined everything in my life, right? Sure. I could have gone to prison. I would have never seen my kids. So that's when I was like, I told my buddy, he was like, yo. So we ended up telling the counselor, and the counselor hit me up, and she said, like, fuck your feelings. And I was like, oh shit, never heard a counselor talk like that. And that started the path. We did EMDR session, and it went from having that dream to not seeing that dream ever again. I have had the moment where it's like blackness, where I know the emotion's there. Like it probably was still there, but I'm not visually seeing it. So that still was nicer. It was better. And so from that, I started researching all this wellness stuff, man. And so up till to date, I've done stem cell treatments. I've done sweat lodge. I've done breathing techniques. I've done cold water therapy. I've done everything you can think of under the sun besides ayahuasca. You know what I'm saying? And, that's on the list if I can convince my wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had many conversations with my boy from Heroic Hearts, right? I'm like, yo, dog, I'm trying to just convince the wife. You know what I mean? But, I'm not opposed to any of it. I kind of turned myself into a guinea pig of information and knowledge. I'm going to be doing brain mapping here soon. I'm going to be doing hypnosis. I'm going to be doing there's a long list of them that I want to just try, because why not? And then I could turn around and tell others like, yo, this is what it did for me. But as of now, I'm in a pretty good place. And I realize no matter how much therapy I do, or different modalities of therapy, there still might be a residual effect of combat in there. You know what I mean? I have still woke up from, a nightmare, jump up, rip off the sheets of the house, boom, 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 and do all this, kind of like very, very, as if someone's coming to me, someone's coming to my door, and, I rip off the sheets. I get all like, and it's people who probably will not understand this. It's like an out of body of experience where I'm watching myself do it, like a daydreamer or a sleepwalker. Mm-hmm. And when I come to, I'm almost embarrassed. Like, what the fuck? Right. Because being a man and scaring my wife with these little episodes doesn't feel so hot and makes you feel out of control, and out of control doesn't feel good. A man that in my head, I should have everything under control, and I really want to protect my family. And I get really nervous about like that I can't control that when it happens. And so it crushes me sometimes. It hurts my heart. You know what I mean? To be like, damn, I can't find an answer for that one.
No. Yeah. I'm so glad you're so open and willing to talk about it. I've experienced the same things. I've had those moments where you're like, okay, that wasn't me. That was something else. That was something that just took over. And whatever you want to call it, instinct or training or something just kicked in. I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate and understand. I recall, being in the supermarket and just staring, like being in a cereal aisle and just going like, why are there fucking 8,000 cereals? Like, this is too much. Like it's overstimulating in a way of like just too much choice. When I wore the same uniform every day, I drank the same coffee every day. I had the same food every day. The same MREs. I had 5 MREs I would eat every day, and it can be overwhelming. So
dude,
your willingness to talk about it and open it, I think, will impact so many lives, so many lives, and just knowing that they're not alone, and knowing to, I'm a big proponent too of try different therapies, because you can say therapy helps. Yeah, but that's very vague. So you got to go, not every therapy will help everybody. You don't know, I know people that like, they fucking did all the therapies and talk therapies. And then they did this horse program where they were brushing horses. And then all of a sudden it clicks,
I own horses, dude.
It is like, and it's like, and then that's the thing. I know people that did all this stuff. And then one day they took a painting class. They're not artistic. They don't paint, but all of a sudden the emotion, the it just all comes out on the canvas. I took a stand-up comedy class, and I loved the empowering of being like, I can take this traumatic, tragic thing and make a joke of it and spin it and sell it and move it and make it what I want, make the reality what I want. And that was so empowering for me. So any one of these can be the game changer for someone. And so I love hearing when you say like, I did this, I tried this, I did, because that's so important to know that if it didn't work, okay, you tried it, try something else. Like, don't give up, try something else. There's so many options.
I feel like I've taken a little from all of them. I've taken something from all of them that are very valuable. I think one of the most valuable ones is what I do as a career now is acting. Emilio Rivera, if you guys know who he is, he's also a veteran. He's a really good friend of mine, a mentor, like a second father to me. He plays, Marcus Alvarez on the show. I asked him about acting, and he said something that when he said it, it was like, yes, you're right. He said, acting made me human again. It allowed me to show emotions. And that was so impactful. I'm like, yes, you are absolutely right. It's given me the opportunity to, if I was uncomfortable with an emotion, but to be like, well, I'm playing a character, so it's cool. You know what I mean? And
it's not me, it's the character.
Yeah. And then as well as the thrill and the fear of playing something else was so exhilarating, in the sense of like the thrill of it was just as thrilling as like the fear of the unknown of combat. It was like the fear of the unknown of like, am I going to do good when they say action? Can I pull this off? And there was something so like exhilarating for me that I knew I found a home in this entertainment space.
That's wonderful. And now we do got to switch gears, because I appreciate you sharing all this stuff, and it's so good. But I do want to talk about your career. I do want to talk about the process and the acting and all of that. You've been so open, and I love it. I appreciate it so much. So your first credited role is Helen Keller versus Night Wolves.
Oh my God.
And
I'm thinking Julio something.
Yeah, Julio Scagnetti. So I just for the folks at home, for those who haven't caught Helen Keller versus the Night Wolves, sell us on it. What's this amazing role you got going on?
Oh, the role consisted of us being in a cafe and just laughing our asses off. It was really kind of like it was our first introduction to film and television on the bigger scale. So what happened was I was working with Matt and JT at the time, and Article 15 clothing and all that stuff. and we were already doing skit comedy, right? And so we decided we want to transition into trying to make a film. And we reached out to Ross Patterson. JT actually reached out to Ross Patterson, and we convinced him to fly out and help us rewrite this script that Billy J, he was the original writer of it, he wrote. And so we're trying to keep it within a certain budget. So he flew in. I knew nothing about the dude. I know nothing about this dude. And we met him. We got absolutely drunk that night and talked our heads off and had so much fun that we ended up kind of becoming friends all of a sudden with Ross Patterson. And he goes, I'm filming a movie. You guys should be in it. Come on out for one day at least. And we're like, all right, cool. So we showed up for one day. We got on set. We're just screaming and laughing the whole time. And that was it. And that was our first introduction into Hollywood. That was my first acting credit. Yeah, that's it. And it is a bizarre, crazy of the mind of Ross Patterson type of film. It is not for the faint of heart. I'd say that.
I love it. I love it so much. I'm like going through your discography, and I'm just looking at it, going like, "Huh, okay, it's an interesting place to start with."
I didn't know what my intentions were with Hollywood at the time, but it was cool to kind of see behind the curtain for once.
Did you get the? Is that where the acting bug hit you? Is that where you're like, oh, I want to do this? No,
the acting bug hit when I was younger. I was in college playing baseball, and I was struggling with my grades. I was dyslexic. I never really learned how to read until after, like, while the military is where I really started to kind of try and help myself on reading. But trying to find easy classes, I went to my coach was like, hey, do some acting classes. They're easy, like theater class. I'm like, all right, cool. I signed up for a theater class. The first class was an improv. And I remember one of the first days he asked, can anyone show us what it's like to come home drunk? And I was like, oh, dude, I do this all the time. Let's fucking go, And so I did that. The class like laughed and everything. And he was like, man, that was really good. And from that point on, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, man. And so I did another theater class. And eventually, I went to an audition, me not being able to read very well. Those anxieties showed up. They handed me the paper. I was stuttering the words. I started sweating, and I just left. I was like, forget this, right? Fast forward to 2013. I start doing YouTube videos with Matt and JT for Article 15. And that is where I was like, I remember how much I liked this, and I'm curious to where I can take this. But at that point, there was never a path to Hollywood. There was never a path to making a movie until we thought about making a script, and then boom, boom. So that I already had the idea, like, man, how could I turn this into something bigger, like to really get to Hollywood? And I had no idea. Luckily, it kind of stumbled upon me.
Yeah, it's a right place, right time. You can call it destiny. You can call it fate. You can call it, whatever you want. Tell me a little bit about Range 15, because I can only assume that that was just a lot of fun and just a lot of silliness.
Yeah, it was wild, man. It was just so what we did, we crowdfunded at the time. We were the 4th highest crowdfund in Indiegogo history. And we raised something like 1.5 million. That's combining with some of the sponsors that jumped on board with us. The veteran community came together and supported us on believing that we can make this great movie. And we made a pretty ridiculous, I like to call it man, what do you call it? It's a cult classic. It's a military cult classic is what it turned out to be. It's very edgy. It's very military centric, and as well as like dark humor. But it did what we wanted to, right? It really brought communities together. They laughed, they joked. And at that time, I feel like a lot of the veterans needed laughter. I think a lot of the guys needed something to just kind of champion behind, because, it was a struggling community of after combat, what next, and to see a group of veterans be able to achieve something like this, I think it inspired a lot of people. It inspired me to see what we were able to accomplish. We made a beautiful documentary behind that called Not a War Story. And I think that tells the heart and soul of what we tried to do and what we accomplished. But that was the moment. I turned around. If you guys don't know, the original owner of Ranger Up company was Nick Palmisano. He's also one of the writers and producers of the movie with us. First day on set, I was like, I'm going to do this for a career. He goes, I believe you. And that was it. And he told me years later when I landed in Mines, he goes, you told me that, right? I said, dude, I believed it. And that was, I sat there thinking like I could make a living doing this. I didn't know how again, but yeah, man, it was a really beautiful time of our lives. It was just kind of like we were riding that wave of what we created through YouTube and social media, and we were able to accomplish that. And it really did open the door for me to see a new career field. Yeah.
I mean, it really was ahead of its time. I mean, really, in the most ridiculous way, but in a good way. And then obviously that leads you to you eventually get the Mayans. So we got to talk about that, right? Because I mean, such a huge show. So many, I don't want to say everyone, but damn near everyone I know talks about that show. And when you first were auditioning for it, when you first got it, let's backtrack. Were you a fan of Sons of Anarchy? Were you aware of the material? Were you into it beforehand?
Yeah. I mean, I was a Border Patrol agent watching Sons of Anarchy. I remember sitting in a dark room crying when Opie died. You know what I mean? And, you know, a huge fan of the show. And as a fan of the show, is like I said, like I just going overseas, we watched all kinds of different shows, right? That's part of my culture in special operations is watching shows. I watched Friends. I watched the OC. I watched everything. So watching shows was what I did anyway. So when I wasn't working, you know, I had my little Netflix and I was watching, I think it was on Netflix. I was watching Sons of Anarchy and I fell in love with it, man. I thought it was such a good show and just so wrapped into it. Yeah, that Opie was like the biggest heartbreak I've ever had. You know what I mean? And, you know, I heard there was a potential for Mayans. And so that was like, oh, interesting. And still like, I don't know how. But I heard Mayans when I first shaved my head and my mustache for Range 15.
Oh, wow.
So I heard about it. And I even took a picture and say, hey, Kurt Sutter, right? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, early on. I'm like, hey, Kurt Sutter, give me a chance, right? Like now I laugh at that shit. I'm like, oh, fuck, what a dumbass.
Tweeting that out, right? Hey, give me a job. Give me a job.
Give me a fucking chance here. Like, oh, jeez. But yeah, dude, I knew about the show. I knew about all of it. And I knew Mayans was coming around the corner. And I just, I didn't know if I was going to catch it in time.
Yeah. And so when you auditioned, I mean, what was that process like? Like when you're going into it, are you like, I feel like I got a high chance? Or you're like, I just want it so bad. Like, what was that whole process like?
You know, it was the first audition I really ever had besides the one I did at 18. So I didn't know what to expect. I had a buddy of mine kind of coach me through like, hey, here's how you want to handle this. Like kind of the etiquette, show up, do it, shake hands, walk out. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, cool. And me and my wife drove there. I shaved my head. I freaking shaved my face to look more, you know, I wanted to look like a cholo. I dressed like kind of like a biker cholo kind of dude. And I was like, well, at least I look the part. I just don't know if, you know, I'm going to pull off what they want. I felt very confident with my acting. I've always felt confident with my acting, but I felt like I could pull off with the words they sent me, right? The paper they sent me. And so the first character I'm playing is a tough guy. And I did that. And they said, all right, great job. They gave me a hug. The lady gave me a hug. Her name is Wendy O'Brien, incredible casting director, casting agent. She gave me a hug. She goes, oh, that was incredible. And I looked at my wife. I was like, I think she says that to everyone because she's super nice. Yeah. You know? And so we ended up flying back home because it was spring break. And I was filming Dads in Parks at the time. You know, the little YouTube show I had. I was filming Dads in Parks at the time. So we just like, oh, we're done filming Dads in Parks. Let's go back home. And so when we go back home, by the time I land, I have an email saying, hey, Kurt Sutter now wants to see the read with you. And I was like, oh, shit. So I bought a ticket back to LA, and now I had my dad drive me because I didn't have a car this time. And this time I have a serious character and a comedic character, right? Some comedic relief. And at the time, I didn't know if I was good at drama. I just felt really confident with comedy because it's all I've done on YouTube. Right. And so honest to God, man, I did the audition for the first one, felt good. Did the audition for the second one that was comedy, and I can swear to you, I blacked out. I don't remember if I even said the right words. All I remember coming to and everyone's laughing and myself. And I was like, oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. You guys have a good day, right? And I walked out of it thinking like, I think that was good. I just don't remember. I was so like stressed, dude. It was just like Will Ferrell, like, that's how you debate. You know what I mean? Like, swear to you, I was like completely like, oh, everyone's laughing. Well, that's good, you know? And so we walked out. My dad was jumping on my back. My dad's been riding Harleys for a long time. And he rides with the Firehogs. It's like a LA firefighter MC kind of thing, or riding club, whatever they call it. And he's like jumping on my back, like, Vinny, this is so awesome, man. I can't believe it. I hope you get it, right? And my dad's not a big dude. He's small, right? So he's jumping on my back and just hugging me and like just giving me all the love, dude. And Kurt Sutter was watching from the window. It's a 2-story place, watching from the window. And he's like, and he said what I was told, that he said, like, man, that's beautiful. Yeah. And then boom, I got the job.
Fuck. And so, I mean, obviously, like you said, you've been filming stuff, you've been doing the YouTube stuff, you've been doing content, the Range 15 and all that stuff. But I mean, I can imagine, like, you're coming into this professional Hollywood TV set for what is going to be put, because it's not even just like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be a successful show, because it's a spin-off of one of the most incredibly successful shows. So it's, I don't want to say it's guaranteed a hit, but like, you know, there's already going to be a fan base associated to it. So what does that feel like for you as the, I don't want to, no insults, the amateur in the room, the first timer? What is that emotion? What is that feeling? What is that mentality walking onto these people that have been doing it since they were 5 years old in commercials and things like that? How's that for you?
No, great question, man. You know, I think the competitive side of me and all the sports I've ever played in, like the special operations kind of like mentality, was like, don't show that you're new, you know, fake it till you make it. And I really believed I can compete with anyone in the room. I thought, but it was really, I also, you know, likability, man. I wanted to make sure that I was being respectful to the craft. I wanted to make sure that I was respectful to the career. I wanted to make sure that my wife was prepared for whatever's going to happen, because we don't know, you know what I mean? So we had all the conversations. I genuinely just wanted to do, like, I didn't know film etiquette because I was filming shit with my friends. And so I was just really watching a lot, paying attention to everyone and kind of following suit, you know? So I was kind of just like staying in the shadows and just copying what everyone else does and acting like I've done this my whole life. You know what I mean? And, you know, at first it was cool. The first pilot went well. I kind of stayed out of everyone's way. I didn't have very many lines, and I was just like blessed to be there. I'm like, dude, if they kill me after episode 1, fuck yeah, who cares? Dope. I landed a huge gig. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And then they threw out the first pilot, and me and my wife were prepared that they probably weren't going to bring us back. And so we were like, okay, well, what a cool experience that was, you know? And then I get a call from Elgin and says, yeah, we're definitely bringing you back, but we changed your character. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm probably dying like within the first minute of the episode. Fine. You know what I mean? And then he goes, no, we're combining you and another character. You're going to have a little bit more significant role in the show. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay, cool. You know? And so I became one of the 4 like young dudes, kind of the problem childs, you know? And I'll tell you, I really did have the confidence that I can hang with everyone until day 1 of filming the second pilot. We were in the tunnel on the border, and it's me, JD, Clay, and Richard, which is Coco, Angel, Easy, and Gilly. And they said action. And soon as they started talking, we were just bullshitting, joking, blah, blah, you know, military kind of stuff, grab ass joking, blah, 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 you know. And they said action, and boom, they turned it on. And I froze, dude. I watched them, and I sit and like, they're saying the lines, he's saying his lines, and the whole time I'm like, oh, he's good. Oh, he's good. I'm like, oh, damn, he's good. And then it was my line. I was like, they were like, Rocco. I was like, oh, sorry, guys. Run it back. Sorry. And I was like, then I'm sweating, bro. Like, don't fuck this up again. Don't fuck this up again. Don't fuck this up again. You know? And I hit my line, but I was like, damn. I was so like, all of a sudden I'm a fan. Like, oh man, these guys are really good at this. So that's when I knew, like, okay, you're a beginner and you need to figure this out fast, dude. And so, you know, I did some lessons. I studied a lot more. I watched them as much as I could. I asked questions. One of the most embarrassing days on set is they're telling me about this scene. They're like, all right, man, hey, so on the day, Rocco, on the day, you're going to be grabbing this bag and putting here. And I'm like, okay, but today's the day, correct? We're doing this today? And they're like, yes, it's just a term we use. It's called on the day. And I'm like, yeah, but you're saying on the day, but today's the day. They're like,
as if it's a different day.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like, why do you call it that? Like, dude, this is what they say in Hollywood. I'm like, oh, so on the day means the next time we do this. Like, yes. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. And so it's still today, dude. Season 5, we're filming, and they're like, on the day, Rocco. That's today. And I was like, oh, yeah, I got it, guys. Whatever. Yeah, we know. I was new.
I mean, as a military guy, right? If we're doing rehearsals for a mission, right? Okay, this is what we're gonna do. So on the day of, we're gonna blah 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 blah. I'm like, it's not gonna be today. That's gonna be when we do the thing.
Yes, dude. The term for some reason is like, hey, on the day. And I'm sitting there like, oh, so we're filming this tomorrow. So confused, man.
Man, yeah, I'd be lost. I'd be lost on a film set. As much of a fan I am, I'm the guy that like watches the movie, then watches it again, then watches it with director's commentary, then watches the bloopers and the gag reels, then watches the special making of and the featurette, and because I love as much as I love the product, I love the process. I love to like what you guys do is incredible. The artistry, the fact that one tiny scene with 2 people needed 45 people to do the lights and the mics and the craft services, and like you need the whole thing. It's magic. It really is movie magic, and I love it so much.
Remind me when we have the premiere for season 5. I would love to have you as a guest.
Yeah, you can't. I would cry. Don't do that. That's not nice. I would cry over here. Don't. Moving. We'll talk. We'll talk. I'm not now. I don't know what. Okay. So I've lost all my senses now. I've completely shut down. Moving on. So let me ask you this: a fun question. Let's mix it up. A fun question is, if you had the opportunity, they come to you a blank check basically and says, doesn't matter who. We want you to do a superhero. We want you to be a superhero or supervillain, right? Any character. It could be done before, never done before. What would you love as an actor to sink your teeth into and bring to a super role?
Oh my God.
I know. Blank check, man, is a hard one.
I love the superhero world. Like I've always loved the Hulk, but I just don't see me playing someone like the Hulk. It's a tough one, dude. There's a comic book. It was character. His name was Lobo. It was this big bad
Lobo.
Dude.
Hell yeah.
I don't have hair, bro, but I've always thought the character was tough.
Wigs are easy. Wigs are easy, bro.
Wigs are easy. I love the character Bane. I think he's cool. I mean, dude, just to play a superhero because I'm a nerd in that world of love superheroes, and I raise my kids on all superhero stuff. It would be an honor to play any Marvel character. I don't think there's one I connect with more than any other. Juggernaut was dope. Like I always like the big tough guys, like guys with lots of strength. I think I've always envied that, and I think that's attractive to me. Like to just be so a brute. And I've always kind of been a brute in my circle of dudes, and so I just like those. I love those. Like my son loves Spider-Man, and I'm like, bro. Like
you want to talk Spider-Man, man? Come on.
Dude. Yo, bro, he's all Spider-Man'd out, right? I got all Miles Morales stuff all over our house right now, dog, because he's Puerto Rican. So I'm like, yo, we got to support this boy.
Gotta support him, yeah. But fan casting. I want to fan cast you for a second, and I'll leave the viewers can vote in the comments about who they think you'd be perfect for. But just the pure vibe. I think we get you the right bodysuit, we get you the right training and everything. I think you could do badass Wolverine. I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there. Just the visceral, the anger, the complicated past, this is a dude that obviously has PTSD and some fucking heads some shit, but he drinks and but he has the good heart. I think you could fucking kill that. I think, no offense to Hugh Jackman. I mean, he's a good enough. He's good enough, but I think you could kill a role like that, man. Absolutely.
I would love to, man. I would love the opportunity I like anything that sounds challenging. Sounds fun to me.
Yeah. What is because I can only assume you've been recognized in public as your character, right? Any wild, crazy interactions? Like, what do people say to you when they recognize you in public? Like, what's the thing?
I think I don't do anything different. So I go to 24-hour fitness right down the street from where I grew up. So there's a lot of people there that know who I am, and they just kind of tip the cap or say, hey, I love the show. Good job. And they really do. They kind of leave me be, no one really bothers me too much. I think a lot of people are intimidated to bother me. So later on they say, I'm like, hey, dude, say hi next time. No big deal. I think it was funny. I was on a flight one time and, I was sitting, comfort plus because I ain't buying first class, right? That's crazy. And the dude next to me knew who I was, and he didn't say nothing until the end. He goes, man, it's really been an honor to sit here and just talk, because we were just talking about law enforcement stuff. I was like, oh, cool, man. And then as we're leaving, he's like, you mind if I take a picture? No, I don't. And and he goes, dude, you're super famous. I was like, no, I'm not, bro. I'm not. I promise you. And then as I said, I'm not super famous, right? A guy comes off the plane like, holy fuck, that's Rocco. He's super famous. And I was like, that was some fucking timing, bro. It was so funny. My wife's like, that was hilarious. I'm like, yeah, the timing on that conversation was so funny, but it doesn't happen as much as like you might think. I don't know. In LA, I get noticed a lot because I think it's LA. I think,
Actors
but in Utah, most people don't even know I live in Salt Lake City. And so a lot of times people are like, man, I thought I saw you. I'm like, it was me. I played on a softball tournament and some dude's like, bro, you look just like this dude on TV. He plays a character in Gilly. I'm like, no way, dude. Is he at least good looking? He's like, yeah, you guys look alike. I'm like, oh, cool. And the guy next to me is laughing like, bro, it is him. And we just started laughing like, I fuck with a lot of people about that, but yeah, it's not as crazy as okay. I'm not, I'm not Easy Reyes, bro. I don't have the abs. Okay.
Hey man, it's not okay. No, we're not going to knock anybody, but like, it's not like you're on the Freeform network. All right. It's FX is huge. I mean, that's up there, man. It's up there. That's notoriety. That's a whole level of fame that, again, we're talking about the 1% of the 1%. Bro, and you're in there. Fucking enjoy it.
Michael Irby, Michael Irby plays Bishop?
Yeah.
He always tells me, he goes, you're spoiled. And he goes, because everything after this, he goes, it's not going to be like this. And I'm like, man, you're right. I landed like the biggest show of my life, like my first year in acting.
Honestly, right out the gate. I mean, people are actors their whole careers without ever making it past the pilot or making it to a second season or anything like that. And I mean, this will go down as one of the big shows ever, for sure. Do you ever plan? Because I know like a big part of being a part of like a franchise like this, I'm thinking things like, Walking Dead, Supernatural, like these very big franchises tend to spawn like conventions. Like, do you ever do like motorcycle rallies or like, Sons of Anarchy conventions or something like that?
Yeah. So what happens is those conventions is that the company invites you and they pay you for your time. And so right now it only seems like 5 different guys have been invited to certain ones. I imagine I'll get invited at some point. But I also imagine I'm going to turn down a lot of it too. When I'm not working, dude, I'm home, dude. And so I give my family that respect to be there and be a coach when I can be and be a husband. And so I turn down a lot of stuff. So that's just kind of it. But, if it makes sense, and I can book a flight for my kids too, let's do it, They got those, I've seen this all the time where they get like a whole show cast to do like a cruise. Bro, you bring the family, it's work, but it's also like a family cruise thing. I mean, I think about it sometimes with my man. If I was on the show, I would do a cruise. I would do it. I love Comic-Con. We go to Comic-Con every year as a show. And if we do it again this year, I'm taking my kids so they can experience it. Nice.
Preference, San Diego or New York? Is there a preference?
San Diego. I'm from California, so I like the San Diego one.
I'm a New York guy, man. I mean, don't get me. San Diego, that's the mecca of Comic-Con. We know that as pop culture people. San Diego's the mecca. But I mean, come on, man. I'm from the city. I'm from New York, and I love me some New York Comic-Con. I enjoy going every year if I can. What's a couple more questions, because we've already been talking over an hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. This has been such a good conversation. I'm enjoying it so much. What's it been like filming through the pandemic? Like, what was the concern there? Like, when did it start to feel normal again? I mean, take us through that.
Yeah, I was concerned that we might not be working for over a year. So I had to get a regular job, man. I was like nervous that, we were going to be running on empty and I'd get a job too late, So right away when I knew that we were shut down from filming, I went and got a job and, waiting for the day that we're going to open up filming again, waiting to hear about it. And I actually scared me because I realized like, man, I've kind of let go of any other forms of income because I was trusting in this career field. And so I started going back to school because I wanted to work on my master's. And so that maybe I can teach theater in college. If the worst case scenario happens, I still have a revenue stream in that for the family. But when they open up filming again, we test we test all the time. I have my COVID test right here. I got to take one today. And during the first 2 seasons coming back, it was very strict. We tested every other day. And when I traveled home, I got to test every other day there as well. And so it was just very strenuous. But the fact that they were able to get us back into filming was important to me to be able to kind of maintain my lifestyle and help my family financially and continue to pursue this career of acting, right? Because I thought like maybe acting was going to be done for me as well. Because there's the fear of when the show is done, like, will I have the respect as an actor to get more jobs? You know what I mean? And that's kind of the hard part of this job. I've lived in a life of the first and the 15th paycheck, right? As a federal officer, as a military guy, and that doesn't exist anymore in my world. I get a majority of my money in those 4 months of filming, and then from there I have to kind of manage that and hope that there's another show coming down the block or something else I can manifest to bring a revenue stream. And so COVID scared me a little bit, man, and actually kind of humbled me to the point of thinking like, okay, we got to be better about how we pursue this career field in safeguarding my family.
Damn, it's the things you don't think about. You know, you think about, they're on vacation. They're just, they're sitting home, and it's like, no, there's some real life concerns. Not everybody's got that AAA status where they're like, fuck, I don't got to work for another 10 years if I don't want. Like, like my character. Remember, I'm not the lead of the show. I'm actually, I think I'm number 12 on the call sheet, right? And so if you understand the call sheets, like 1, 2, 3 are probably the most, probably the best paid dudes on the show. Yeah. I'm down at the 12 where there's a bulk of us that probably get paid probably the same. And I'm not saying the pay is not good. It's good. It's just, it's not fuck you money, dog. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I tell you, it ain't that. You know what I mean? You ain't hit the lotto just yet. Right.
It's like pursuing this career put me in more debt than anything, right? For the first 2 seasons, I was in debt. I lost money chasing this dream, right? With the hopes of like I would be able to land something big. And so when I finally landed a bigger contract, bro, I was just paying back debts I've had stacking for the past couple of years. So it's an interesting career field. And, when the highs are highs and then the lows are lows, dude.
Yeah. That leads me into my next question so perfectly. Doing something like this career field specifically, literally puts you out there. It opens you up to so much criticism, right? Fans, critics, randos on the internet. They're like, man, fuck that guy. He sucks. Like, how do you manage that? How do you handle that? The good and the bad?
I probably don't handle it the way I should. I'll tell you that. My PR is probably like, bro, calm down. But I'm also like, dude, I'm a real dude, fo. Find me, homie. You want to talk some shit? Let's go. You know what I mean? And that's not the best way to approach that. No, last season, I think it was last season, I had a scene where I had a Ranger flag in the background, right? My character, and some old school Ranger was talking shit on a Ranger forum that I'm a part of, right? He's like, look at this fat fuck talking like he's a Ranger. There's no way. And before I was able to chime in, like all my homies who I served with were like, bam, 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 blasted this dude, right? And I messaged him. I said, what's your number, bro? And he gave me some. I called him. I said, what years did you serve? And he said the years. I said, oh, cool. So you missed the war. He goes, yeah. And I was like, did you get a Ranger tab? And this is me like Ranger checking each other, right? Sure. This is a Ranger thing, right? Like, I don't care about anyone else's what they've served, but if I can talk shit to a Ranger, this is how I do it, right? And I say, what years did it serve? Did you go to combat? No. Okay, cool. Got you. All right. Did you get a Ranger tab? No. I said, cool. Then shut your fucking mouth, bro. You know what I mean? And I went off on it, right? And then by the end of it, it was just like, he goes, well, bro, hey, no disrespect. If you ever want to come visit, man, Ranger brother. I'm like, yeah. But I was so mad, bro. I was just pretty much like, I was so mad. I'm like, bro, the fact that you felt that you had to say anything, you should be proud that a Ranger battalion was represented on film and television. That's what they should have pulled from that. But instead, it was this comment, and it was all stemmed from his own insecurities, right? He didn't really do that. He was a training dude for years, right? And he never got his Ranger tab. So he knows what I know about that. In our community, we know what that means. He didn't make that, right? And so he didn't promote either. So this dude is not the higher echelons of dudes I respect in the Ranger battalion who've done big work, right? The giants that I look up to, he was not that. So for him to try and talk down to me, I was like, watch your mouth, bro. But I shouldn't handle things that way. But sometimes I like to go really direct with people and say, let's have a conversation, because I'm so human, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not this actor. I'm not Tom Cruise, bro. I'm so grounded in the fact, like, bro, if you don't like me, I don't know.
It's true. But I can, you know, this is not pretentious. This is not whatever, but you know, I'm emailing you. I'm like, hey man, come on the show. You're like, hey, here's my number. Text me. I'm just like, who just fucking gives out their cell phone number? Like,
my wife hates it, dude. My wife hates I do that.
I'm gonna start randomly just sending you gifts and like little.
You can text me anytime, bro.
Oh, you're too funny, man. You're too funny. Okay. Trying to think what's a good one to go out on. Tell me something. What is a quality that you admire in other actors? Like, what's something that you aspire to add to your tool set?
That's a great damn question. I feel like I'm professional at work, but I know there's guys who are way more studied and prepared than I am. And I wish I had more discipline to study the way they do. But and like, so I'll just say there's several dudes, but Danny Pino, he plays Galindo. I've never seen someone so prepared for his stuff. And it's not like we all, you know, we have our sides and we're looking at it before seeing. I'm like, all right, cool, I'm good. Put it in my pocket. He has an iPad and he looks at the iPad, puts it away, and he'll know 3 lines of dialogue perfectly. And that is a challenge, dude. I've never had the blessing of have 3 or the curse of having 3 pages of dialogue. You know what I mean? And so to watch him knock out 3 pages of dialogue flawlessly is extremely impressive. And I don't know if I'm at that skill set level yet. Right. So I definitely envy how, and not even that, he's a true gentleman of the craft. And so, you know, I do feel a little insecure when I'm in a room with guys like him that like, I don't have the experience that he has. So I definitely, I walk on eggshells and watch and observe and learn, because that dude is probably one of the most professional people I've ever worked with.
Oh, God bless. I love it. We can't beat that. That was solid. Let get real quick. Where can people follow you? Where can people show support? What do you want to plug? Where can people, you know, see you next? Give it all to us.
Yeah, man, we got season 5 coming out. I don't know when. They're going to announce it soon, but if you guys haven't watched Mayans, go watch it on FX or Hulu. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of it. Same, Vincent Rocco Vargas. You guys can message me and I reply to everybody. I don't care. The biggest thing that I have on the table right now is I just released a book called Borderline. It is my memoir as a Border Patrol agent. I wanted to do my best to explain the career field of a Border Patrol agent as well as the special operations careers. It's just my way of giving information to those who probably don't know the full story about what the career field is. And that's what's going on right now. So like it, share it, tell your friends, and just thank you for supporting me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll share it on the page across our social media. Make sure people know where to get it. We'll plug it, pump it, all that stuff, man, and have people check out Veteran. I want to pick up one of the shirts. I love the designs; they're so cool, and the message behind it is so inspiring. Vincent, Rocco, man, I feel like I could call you Rocco now. I feel like I've earned it.
You can call me anything, bro. Anything.
Thank you so much for your time, man. This has been phenomenal. I know people are gonna love this interview, and now you're a friend of the show forever, dude. Anytime, ever you want to come back, shoot the shit. We'll talk about your career. We'll talk about because I know the next big thing is just around the corner. So we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the military. We'll geek out about superheroes, whatever you want, man. I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Yeah, man. Don't forget when the premiere dates happen, be ready.
I will be ready, sir. I will guarantee I'll be ready. So, all right, we're going to toss to a quick break and we'll be back with more show right after this. Say goodbye, Vince. All right, guys.